Chapter 381. Rhea Ross. Wow. The crowd was baffled by the announcement. His rank was never publicized ever since he got that special rank, and in less than a year, he already had a star on his shoulder. Normally, it required at least a decade of service, yet it was only 1 year from him. No wonder the crowd couldn't believe it. Suddenly, many vehicles stopped by the school. With just a single look, Kai already recognized them. It was his worst enemy at the moment. He grabbed Rhea's collar and summoned a magic circle underneath his feet. He leaped to the sky, dragging her to the top of the school building. What? He escapes? No. We need an explanation for this. The crowd didn't like it and demanded him to return so that they could ask him a few questions. It wasn't like they came for nothing. Rhea didn't forget to shout something to them. I will be delivering my speech after lunch. Make sure you go there. Rhea Ross waved her hand while being dragged by Kai. He didn't waste a single second and dragged her to the room where he usually met his teammate and pushed her to the chair, having her sit and waiting to be judged. The group was bewildered by the appearance of Rhea Ross. What is the meaning of this? Michelle asked while furrowing his eyebrows. I am just visiting you guys while giving a speech for Kai's achievement. I have even invited the media to spread the news, Rhea Ross explained with a nonchalant expression. What the heck are you doing, teacher? Kai twitched his eyebrows. Although he didn't really mind having his teacher doing all the things she wanted, this one was too random. He couldn't understand what she wanted. Why are you raising your voice against me, Kai? I am just trying to help you. She pouted while playing with her dress. Look, I even dress up a bit. Kai indeed found that Rhea put more effort into this. Well, I do admit that you have finally dressed up like a normal human being. Oi, is bullying your own teacher the norm here? I don't remember raising you that way. Rhea shrugged while complaining. Are you not aware how you usually dressed up? Kai glared at her, feeling a bit angry. Her usual dress was just a normal pajama or something that was easy to move on like a shirt and short pants. As long as there was a white lab coat, she would be fine for anything. However, Rhea wore a white shirt followed by a brown-colored skirt. Luckily, she didn't wear her lab coat. Anyway, we can discuss it another time. But why are you here? Kai suddenly remembered what she said earlier and asked. Help me. What kind of help? Here. Rhea gave the document she brought with her. This is your next mission, the defensive battle. Kai frowned and took a look at the document. Meanwhile, Rhea continued explaining her real motive. It's true that I am delivering this, but I also have another purpose. It's to inform the world about your promotion. I told you a few days ago that you would become the target of envy because of this promotion, so we need to give the world proof to show. First of all, I will provide a brief explanation about what you have accomplished so far and why we agreed to push your promotion a bit faster than a normal student. After that, you are going to use this mission to prove that you are worthy. That's all. However, we have a problem. That is the mission. She let out a long sigh. What's the problem, Professor? Ayaka asked while frowning. Your mission will be defending Yukon Territory's military base from a magical beast horde due to the volcanic eruption. Because this will be your chance to shine, the military won't send a 4-star general, which is supposed to be the only rank higher than Brad Matthew at the moment. They will only send 100,000 soldiers and let you and Brad Matthew deal with it. That's why you will fight in a tough battle in a normal sense, considering you are fighting against 1 million magical beasts. That's the rough calculation, but it might be more, she explained. I see 10-to-1 ratio. This is a terrible ratio. How many soldiers inside the Yukon military base right now? Ayaka narrowed her eyes. 70,000. So it's around a 7-to-1 ratio. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either, Rhea answered. Indeed, the perfect ratio will be 5-to-1, especially since we need to split up at least 5 groups to defend the base. Michelle nodded in agreement. That's right. And one of the worst things that can happen is seeing how adamant Brad Matthew is in leading the operation. He said he couldn't let the youngling ruin this base because he doesn't have enough experience. If I were the one negotiating with him, he would already have a few broken ribs. Rhea flared up, wanting to beat that Brad Matthew as soon as possible. What are we going to do then? Doesn't it mean that Kai can't do anything during this mission? Ayaka asked. Won't this be bad because it will make Kai look bad? True enough, Michelle nodded in agreement. Not necessarily so. Rhea mysteriously smiled, as if she had a plan to deal with the situation. Suddenly, Kai called his teacher, stopping all talks in the room. "Teacher." They turned to Kai with a serious expression, as if he grasped something from reading the documents. "What is it?" Ria's expression also turned serious. "I have several questions, but I think the one question that I want to ask the most is, the little stunt you did earlier, is that a part of your plan?" Ria smirked when she heard that question. Kai seemed to have understood what she planned to do. "As I said, I came to help you. If you think that I'm doing random things by calling the media over here, standing in front of the school gate, delivering the speech about your achievement, and announcing your promotion, then do you think I am fit to be your teacher?" "I see." Kai let out a long sigh. "You are serious about this, of course. You seem to have understood my real intention." She made a sinister smile. "No wonder you are my student. Humph. No wonder people don't like to mess with you. You always did something like this." Kai shook his head helplessly. The group glanced at them back and forth, hoping for an explanation. Kai sighed and put the document on the table before pointing his finger to two clauses. They gathered and looked closely at the things he pointed at. Kai Carter may bring his friends or even groups from the school to help him during this mission to compensate for all the terms above. Kai Carter has the right for an army of 35,000 soldiers and the right to be an independent army. He may move freely in the battlefield with that army as long as he makes sure that everything is under control. They took a closer look at the two clauses, but still couldn't understand the meaning. They asked Kai for an explanation. Kai let out a long sigh while Ria was making a big smile. 4 hours later, all students in the academy had gathered in the gym where Ria Ross would be delivering her speech. The student council and a few volunteers must have seen hell because Ria's unnotified speech forced them to prepare everything as soon as possible. The work that usually required a few days was done in a few hours. The light in the gym went out before the president appeared in the middle of the stage, with one light illuminating her. "I am sure that all of you here have heard about what will come for this sudden event. Even we, the student council, don't know anything about this, so we are just as confused as you. Still, I believe no one in this base doesn't know her name. She has shaken this base from the very bottom, because she has shown that ranking won't determine your achievement. She is also my role model, other than my grandfather, who taught me everything. She, who is an A-rank magician, manages to climb the rank to the very top and defeat all S-rank magicians in the country. At the same time, she is the first to kill an S-rank magical beast without being an S-rank magician. She has indeed shown the world that we shouldn't give up and can become whoever we want to be. I believe I shouldn't talk for too long, and let's invite one of our alumnus, General Ria Ross, to take the stage." She delivered her brief speech, asking Ria Ross to come to the stage. Applause filled the gym as they looked at the stage with great expectation, wanting to see the woman who changed the US base as a whole. Ria Ross slowly walked toward the podium, shook the student council president's hand, and smiled at the audience. The uproar became a frenzy. The students were in euphoria. However, Ria Ross only closed her eyes, faced the students, and opened her eyes again. There was this weird feeling when one looked at her. It was a kind of a unique aura that only she possessed. That aura mysteriously shut them up until not even a single sound could be heard in the gym. It was indeed amazing to see a frenzy turned into complete silence with just the blink of an eye. Ria Ross then opened her mouth. "Thank you for the warm welcome. I am Ria Ross." Chapter 382. You are truly my student. Ria Ross's introduction was simple but impactful. It sent chills down their spines. They never expected that silencing the room with just a blink of an eye and giving her name alone could feel this magical. The silence instantly erupted once again. This was the caliber of the strongest magician in the base. Since they had recovered from the first shock, Ria chose to raise her hand while clenching it, signaling the students to go quiet. It took them a few seconds before they calmed down their excitement. "I am glad to see the current generation of this school, and I think you have known this. But I have a personal student in the 2nd grade. His name is Kai Carter. The most important reason for me coming all the way here is to inform you about something. I believe many of you have already heard it, but I will say it again. Yes, I am coming here to announce the promotion of my beloved student, Kai Carter. Ria smiled while pointing at the screen behind her. It was Kai's profile. I can swear that all the things I will announce are real. First of all, I am sure you are wondering why I suddenly announced to the world that I have a student. This all happened around 11 years ago. After killing the S-rank Toad, I went to United Asia. I also didn't know why, but I met this young man named Kai Carter half dead. Since I happened to be a scientist who learned about the human body, I treated him there before sending him to the hospital. It just clicked to me when I talked to this boy and decided to take this boy as my student at that time. They thought that he was just a mere low-rank magician, but I found something in him they didn't discover, which turned out to be his real talent. If you follow the news about me, you'll realize that I went to United Asia for a year, right? I was training him during that year, and what he had achieved this far was all his hard work. After all, I didn't teach him more than the basics. He improvised all the things he learned and adapted to it. That's why he could achieve this. Ria Ross presented and began talking about his achievement, starting from when he first came to the base to what he did earlier. It took her an hour just to explain his deed in a bit more detail, and the media had been keeping track of it, making sure that every single word was recorded. This was surely big news. The military had only talked about his achievement as vague as possible, but Ria talked about the process and how he managed to climb his rank. The students began admiring him for what he had done in the past 2 years. If all were true, Kai and his group might have done more than the top 100 groups combined. No wonder that the top brass kept pushing Kai's rank. They simply wanted Kai to have more authority, to do more things. After all, if you asked any other group whether they were confident in challenging 50,000 magical beasts in the short 2 weeks, they would surely say no unless they came with a few thousand people. Hence, this is the basis of his promotion. I am sure that you can understand why the government decided to make a special exception for him and promote him like this. That's all about him. Now, I am sure that all of you feel dissatisfied about his special treatment, especially regarding his mission. Why could he get such a mission? If I have the same mission, I can do it better than him. That might be true. For this, I have a solution, and the government has agreed to this solution. I have noticed that some of you can have a long free time after finishing your mission each month. Hence, I've proposed to the government to add one more system to our curriculum. It's a special admission for another ranking system, separated from the top groups. The school will evaluate your group condition and power before giving you a certain rank. Of course, there is a more complicated system for this, but I will briefly explain it to you. You can take another mission in 1 month, separate from the daily quota. The mission you will get is related to the military, and the military will be evaluating you, giving you points for every task. After you get a certain amount of points, you shall be eligible to start your military career. This will be implemented next term, and the trial period will last for 2 years. Just bear this in mind. The system is not compulsory, and the danger is far greater than the normal mission you receive. We won't bear anything if you die during a mission like this, so make no mistake. That's all. Before I go off stage, there is something that you might want to hear from my student. So let's invite my student, Kai Carter, to the stage. She smiled while looking to the side. The students followed her line of sight, seeing Kai slowly making his way toward the stage. Whisperings filled the atmosphere. They were confused and excited at the same time. On one hand, they had the opportunity to advance their career faster. On the other hand, they would face more problems in the future. Since it wasn't a compulsory system, it was great enough to be considered. Still, the star of the day, Kai Carter, had yet to come up, so they wondered what he would say. Kai smiled as soon as he arrived before Ria. He bowed politely, greeting her. Ria then retreated a few steps back, giving him some space. He then looked at the students with a calm expression. Taking another deep breath, he finally opened his mouth. As you know, I am Kai Carter, teacher, Ria Ross's student from United Asia. I gained citizenship not long ago, so some of you might still consider me an outsider, but none of it matters to me. Since my teacher has done all the talks, I will just cut to the chase so as not to bore all of you. What I want to say regarding my promotion is that it is not entirely true. The government has indeed promoted me to be a brigadier general, but there is one last test that I need to pass. The mission is to protect the Yukon territory from the Horde due to the volcanic eruption. The number is more than 1 million beasts, while we will be fighting with only less than 200,000 soldiers. I can't make any promise, but I have confidence in holding them back. This is to show you that I am worthy of having 1 star on my shoulder, and I'm sure that you all will start gossiping about me on how I am just using my teacher's relation to gain this position, or why a person like me became her disciple. I don't have anything to say about that other than jealousy. What I bet many of you are provoked by my words earlier. Do you think you are great? Kai provoked them even more with that calm expression. Many rumblings began to erupt, disturbing the silence a moment ago. They respected him for doing all that, but it didn't mean that he could look down on them, especially when he only relied on his teacher's connection. Most of them were cursing him for talking big. However, Kai simply responded by covering the microphone with his sound insulation array and snapped his finger. A high-pitched sound rang in the gym, making people's ears hurt. It stopped them talking for a few seconds. He used that chance to continue. You don't like that treatment earlier? Then, feel free to show it to me. According to the mission, I have the right to recruit people from the school, but I won't do something like that. I simply want to challenge you whether you are truly worthy of fighting me. If you think you are worthy, you can join this mission as my subordinate. I will show you my way of fighting, allowing you to see what kind of person I am. After that, you will have your opinion. Scorn me, praise me, or remain neutral. It's your choice. But if you can only talk big without even seeing it with your own eyes, then I have 2 words to say. Screw you. Kai smirked, ending his speech with a bang. Suddenly, the student council president took the microphone and looked at the students. This is a challenge, I guess. I would really like to see with my own eyes your ability, since I am still not convinced of what Professor Rhea Ross said earlier. I am not saying her words lack credibility. I simply want to witness it with my own eyes. Therefore, I've decided to join this mission of yours along with my group. As for the rest of the student council, the choice is theirs. The students were shocked to see her be the first to participate in this ridiculous provocation. My Eagle group is not a pushover, so that we will be participating in this too. Besides, it's a perfect opportunity to learn from the great Kai Carter. I hope that you can entertain me, Kai Carter. Isabel stood up and shouted. The students became even more provoked when they saw the 2 groups joining the mission. One by one began standing up and announced their participation. Kai smiled evilly while thinking, the mission allows me to recruit the students here, but the most important thing is that the clause doesn't state any limit. There are a total of 500 people in the top 100 group alone, but it's not enough. High's teacher surely has messed up Brad Matthews' arrogance with this move. After all, in addition to the original 35,000 soldiers, I can mobilize the entire school, which should have at least 5,000 students. This will make my army have more numbers than the other armies. Kai understood it pretty well and liked the plan. At the same time, Rhea also had a sly smile, staring at him as if telling him, you are truly my student, you know me well. Chapter 38-3. Program Bang. This is ridiculous. The sound of a guy slamming his hand to the wooden table echoed in a room. There were 10 people inside the room, talking about an important thing. That's right, how can you let her do this, Mr. President? An old man gritted his teeth and looked at President Brent. The president himself remained calm as he understood their concern. He closed his eyes for 2 seconds before glancing at an old woman right beside him. You are our Minister of Defense. What do you think about it? I actually agree to this. Although we need more manpower to deal with this situation, I believe this system will improve the situation of our military. At the same time, there will be more and more people coming in. She nodded. You can't do this. Do you know how many people in the academy? We need at least 1,000 personnel to handle the entire system. The old man who slammed the table earlier was none other than the Secretary of Labor. We will need a huge amount of resources to do something like this. Oh, you are talking about the money. The guy who supported him earlier suddenly realized they didn't rebuke the president for the same reason, so he decided to remain silent. I know what you are thinking, but we will be able to raise more talented people in a short period. She shook her head. Still, the budget is already too tight to handle. I can't really direct some money to this project. President Brent thought for a moment and asked, that money? How many schools did you put in your calculation? We have 4 schools all over the base, 2 magic schools and 2 military schools. If this is implemented, we need to deal with all of them, or there will be a huge protest from the masses. The president furrowed his eyebrows and seemed to know how to proceed. Focus on the sacred magic school, but it's fine. I am going to use Rhea Ross's statement for this. He sighed. What do you mean, President? Do you happen to know more than us? Yes. Rhea Ross said there is a trial period of 2 years. He widened his eyes before looking down with his hand on his chin. What do you think? Can you do it? President Brent asked. I believe I can. As long as she announced it first, we will be able to calm the mass. Although there will be an influx of students for Sacred Magic Academy for the next 2 years, it means that the school can select students with higher quality. This way, the project will have a higher success rate. As long as the media keep covering the program, we will be able to make them a bit bored with this type of news or get used to it. After all, I am sure that when the system is implemented in all schools, it will lead to many deaths. We can simply fight it with the facts from the trial period. As for the budget, I should be able to spare some if it's only for one school. The problem will be personnel which should be recruited from the military. He glanced back at the Minister of Defense. However, she looked away, directing the problem to a middle-aged woman that sat not far from her. You want the veteran to do it? Well, I can agree with this. Since there is a long history that veterans keep working as a bodyguard or something, I will try it. You should be able to get the answer in 2. No, 1 week. We have the deal then. President Brent smiled. No one objected anymore after watching how it was settled. But President, are you sure we are doing this? There will be many who don't like this, especially wealthy families, because it means you are siding with Rhea Ross. They are benefited from it as well. If they complain, I will deal with them personally. Besides, I agree with her condition because she presented me with information. They frowned. Yes, there is something dangerous inside the Amazon forest, so we can't venture too deep into their area or we will be wiped out. From what I can understand, their danger level is higher than the protectors that keep harassing us. President Brent sighed. What? There is something like that in the forest? How can we not know about this? No, this is not important. We need to investigate and deal with it immediately, or our bases to the south will be in danger. That's the problem. They are not aggressive. As long as we are not doing anything, they won't do it. She guarantees us that if something big happens, she will be the one leading the suppression army. Since she is planning to go to that length, we will try to do it since our objective is South America as a whole, not the forest. Yes, as long as it's safe, we can do anything about it after taking back South America. However, it doesn't mean we will stop investigating it. Understood. I will ask the bases near it to do it. President Brent nodded as his expression turned severe. The other information is more urgent. It seems that we have something that is threatening us. There might be a connection with how this world turns like this. I don't have much information about this, so I will be telling you again after Rhea Ross sends me the full information. I want the military to stand by since we can't afford to get distracted while dealing with the protectors from the sea. They exchanged looks and nodded. Meanwhile, in the school's gym, Kai let the uproar continue for a little longer. Most of them were gotten carried away by the atmosphere, so he knew that some would surely not join later. However, he should be able to get at least 3,000 to 4,000 people, and he was satisfied with that number. The next thing he needed to do was inform them how to join and when they needed to go. The mission will be held in 3 days. I have asked the military to send trucks to send you guys to the battlefield. That's all. Kai smiled before taunting them once more. I am waiting for you to judge me. Thank you. He walked off the stage with his teacher, as not only those in the gym, but the entire base was shaking with excitement. They gained 2 objectives during the speech. The first was to get into the Sacred Magic Academy to get that opportunity, while the other one was to follow Kai's achievement. They wanted to see whether Kai really did all those missions. They were hoping to see what the students from the academy could clarify when they returned to the base. Still, there was one thing happening that was outside Kai's prediction. It was the birth of his own fan club. Seeing how he was so extraordinary, his popularity was skyrocketing, especially in a world filled with females. His overbearing and aloof attitude made him a national husband at this point. However, The person in question wasn't aware of this. After walking off the stage, he let out a long sigh while staring at Ria. At least, we have fulfilled the first objective. Yes. From my prediction, you will get at least 4,000 soldiers. Combined with your army, you will have almost 40,000 people. This will surely allow you to do many things, right? Kai nodded. Well, yes. The problem will be, what should I do to let them see my performance while doing my best to protect the battle? That's what you need to think about. Ria Ross shrugged. My objective here is completed. I will just give you 2 pieces of advice. First, pick the first years that are able to get to the top 100 groups. They will be the witness for the first year. You can choose some little groups for the second and third year students, since they are at least experienced enough to handle your command. Kai looked down, falling into deep thought. I agree. We can't really bring all the top 100 groups with me, because they will notice that I am favoring them. And as much as I hate to say this, the haters have louder voices, so we need to shut those people up with this exactly. As for the second one, you'll need to let the students participate more. At the very least, they will need to have a say during the meeting with their superiors. Of course, you should allow those who are qualified. I understand. We can allow Isabel or someone to do that. However, we can't do it too much since they will become too confident at that point. Probably only 2 or 3 can participate in the meeting. After all, even if your program is good, they will only start at the very bottom. They need to learn the reality first, so they won't expect too much. He nodded. Yes. According to the program, even you might only get a maximum of 6 promotions. She nodded. That's why we need to hype the program, but also give them the understanding. Kai sighed. This will become more complicated. No need to think about it. I will handle the rest. Just do what you need to do. Besides, they won't be able to complain to you since you are the predecessor. For example, you need to become as big as possible. Ha ha ha, Ria laughed. If you don't have anything, I will return now. Kai bowed his head. Thank you, teacher, and I will apply the knowledge I gained during the training in this mission. Oh, it seems the magical beasts will have a hard time, she smirked before walking away. Chapter 384. Brad Matthew. 3 days later, Kai stood on top of the building, watching many military trucks coming to the school. Each truck could bring around 30 people, so with the current number of the truck, they could get around 4,800 people. So, what do you think about this number? A female voice resounded in his ears as she walked closer to him. It's beyond my expectation. I believe this is the effect of my teacher giving her speech. Kai narrowed his eyes while glancing over the woman who came to him. Sorry for making you stay here. No worries. I know that you asked the others to fly first because you are worried about all these students. I am here just so we can teleport there immediately as soon as the trucks are set off. Tasha smiled while looking at the students who slowly entered the trucks. Almost 5,000 soldiers are here, 1,000 more than I predicted. Kai sighed. From my perspective, the first and second year students are eager to participate. Since the third year will only have graduation after this, the 2 grades will have the opportunity to show their might when the program that your teacher made begins. To be fair, I thought that too. They can simply say that they have done this and that, especially regarding this mission. Since I am the exception and accumulate more achievement, if they fight under me for just one occasion, the evaluation will surely calculate it too. Kai nodded with a serious expression. You don't like where this is going on? Tasha asked. Not really. I have stated that their lives are their own priorities. The problem will be how I control them to make sure they don't flee when they see so many magical beasts. Kai sighed. Do you know about our terrain? Yes. I have forwarded it to those who I deem qualified to enter the meeting. I see. What is the chance of us losing? With all of you here, Kai asked. Yes, 30%. I have never fought in a defensive battle like this, so my confidence is not that great, especially since there is no one higher than Brad Matthew. Fair enough. It must be a headache. She smirked. Kai shrugged and saw the last student entering the truck. After waiting for another minute, they began their journey to the Yukon territory. They have gone. Are we going now? She asked. Wait until I can't see them anymore. Kai smiled. Still, to think the teachers are participating in this too. Haha. That's normal if I think about this. Firstly, they won't have enough students to teach, so they might as well participate. They can protect the students that way. Yes, they have many capable people after all. Kai nodded, remembering Yuki and Sanai. There were some of their peers in the school, so they knew that the teachers were capable. Let's go then. Kai smiled after watching the last truck disappear from his vision. Tasha snapped her finger and teleported them to the military base. As soon as he appeared in the military base, many people noticed his presence, especially since he would be leading almost 40,000 people. They were curious to see the student that had this kind of responsibility. Kai smiled and nodded his head to them while making his way toward Brad's office. Tasha decided to go a separate way, searching for their usual group. Suddenly, Yuki sneaked behind him and hugged him from behind like that of a friend. Yahoo, it's been a while, Kai. This is the second time we fight together after the raid mission of the underground nest, Teacher Yuki. It's been a while. Kai nodded. You just arrived. Yes. Then, you are on your way visiting that gorilla, yes. Let me accompany you then. Yuki smiled playfully. By the way, can I know what the status is? The advanced teams that you sent earlier have gathered here, so you don't need to worry about them. As for the situation of the volcano, even I don't have that information. I see. Kai nodded as the two headed straight to Brad's office. Before coming in, he wanted to confirm the matter again with her. Are you sure it's all right for you to visit him? It's fine, it's fine. Yuki pushed open the door while shouting, Yo, gorilla, who is a gorilla, you damn woman? Brad snorted, but his voice didn't really have a trace of anger, so Kai thought they might know each other. I am visiting you, it's you being honored. Yuki pouted. Even General Nathan reprimanded you all the time. Why does Sir Nathan get involved here? Kai frowned. Brad then noticed Kai and raised his head, stopping his work. You don't know, Brad Matthew studied under Sir Nathan, you know? He was so messed up and got reprimanded all the time. I did not. Yeah, you were, don't lie. Or should I just tell all the things that happened when you were his subordinate? Brad clenched his teeth and glared at her. What do you want here? I am just here to accompany him and learn insider information from you. Go back. This is not the place you ought to be. Yuki only stuck her tongue out and grabbed the nearest chair, sitting as if telling him that she had no intention of leaving. Even Brad gave up at that point. Kai became even more convinced that these two were comrades before. Brad then turned to Kai, looking at that one star on his shoulder. He secretly clenched his fist and said, Take a seat. Kai nodded and sat beside Yuki. You can't be honest, aren't you? Enough. I am going to throw you out if you talk again. Brad slammed the table. Yuki shrugged and stopped talking. According to the order, you have the army for yourself. Since she is with you, you can use her as your officer. I won't send you any officer so they can take care of your ass. Are you sure? This means you're going to separate Kai from the rest of the armies. No. This is the most foolish question that I've heard today. You don't know a thing. Kai narrowed his eyes and asked, May I know my position in this battle? Brad showed the picture of 5 armies standing side by side. The furthest left had 1 on it, while on the opposite side had 5 written on it. Brad pointed at the second army. Here is the corrected and properly formatted paragraph. Kai was surprised. He thought he would get either the 1st or the 5th army, but it seemed Brad was gentler than he expected. This is why I said you should be honest. Your tsundere character doesn't suit you. Yuki also noticed the reason why Brad gave that position to Kai. It had strategic hills. Next to him would be the main army, which Brad himself would personally lead. At the same time, the first army would surely have either his left or right-hand man. This already showed enough concern for Kai. No wonder Yuki said he was a tsundere, despite his face and build. Well, this will be a good one. In any case, I have considered all kinds of terrain here, so I should be fine. Kai nodded. What's the status of the volcano? According to the headquarters, it will erupt in 2 days with 1-day correction. Kai looked down while falling into deep thought. The technology had progressed, especially with the volcanic eruption. After all, every time it happened, it would influence millions of magical beasts. Since they only needed to deal with one direction, they only needed to face 1 million or so magical beasts instead of the full force, so it was quite relieving. Will there be a chance that a protector is involved? No. On the battlefield next to us, An S-rank magician is standing by. They should meet her first before reaching our position. Brad shook his head. In that case, it should be enough, especially with 40,000 people. Kai nodded. Brad was scratching the back of his head, frustrated with the additional people he brought with him. He never expected that he would bring that many students, but he couldn't also dismiss since he already agreed to the term. In that case, I don't think we need to worry about reinforcement, right? Yes. As long as we stand our ground, it should be fine. Well, there might be someone that messes up though. Brad narrowed his eyes, looking at Kai, noticing his gaze and meaning. He talked back. And I am currently looking at that person. Brad got challenged as they glared at each other for a while. Gahaha gorilla, you have lost, you know. Yuki laughed. Even Sir Nathan said he couldn't handle this kid, so you might be the one who slips up. That's true. I am not trying to look down on you, but this position. You will be the one facing more enemies, you know. Kai narrowed his eyes. Brad only looked away. I am the one responsible in this base. This is my decision and responsibility. There is no way a student like you, who gets a golden spoon from his teacher, understands this. Kai twitched his eyebrows. Instead of talking back, he decided to ask another question this time. How about our resources? We have enough bombs and air support for 100 to 200,000 beasts. How many can you kill using them will depend on you. For now, the explosives have been given to your army, and each army here will have one air support. I understand. This is going to be an interesting fight. Kai nodded. Is there anything else I need to know? None. Go to your army and prepare yourself. I can't have you wet your pants in this battle after all. Brad Matthews snorted. Kai shrugged and rose from his seat. Chapter 385, Natural Fortress. All right then. Kai stretched his hand while walking with Yuki. So, what is your plan? I can be your deputy for this defensive battle, you know. She smiled. I appreciate it. Kai nodded as his expression turned serious. Before that, I want to ask about your experience in a defensive battle, especially in a fort battle. A fort. A fort. She frowned and realized what Kai's plan was. Gasped. You are planning to make a natural fortress? Yes. 40,000 people should be enough to make a natural fortress within 2 days. Kai nodded. Well, I have some experience, but I am not that good. Need more instruction from the boss. She shrugged. It seems I am not fit to be your deputy. It's fine. I need your expertise. Besides, there is Sir Ethan's granddaughter here. If I add 1 or 2 officers from the soldiers, we should be able to manage the entire army. Kai waved his hand as if the problem they were facing was not a big deal. Is that so? I will trust you then. Yuki nodded. In that case, let's go outside first. I have the image ready, but I need to see the real thing before the students arrive here. By the way, do you need her? Should I call her? Yes. I need Laura here along with Ayaka, Michelle, and one teacher with expertise like this. There should be someone beside you that can control an army in a battle like this, right? Kai glanced at her. Of course, she nodded. Let's go then. I will wait at the gate. Sure, leave it to me. She smiled and walked to a different location. After a few minutes, she managed to gather all the necessary people and brought them to the gate where Kai had waited for them with a truck. Still, Laura didn't know why he would call her. Although she had some confidence in a defensive battle, this scale was already beyond her power. May I know the reason why I am here? She asked. I need your expertise and knowledge from Sir Ethan, but this. Don't worry. I am not planning to do that first. Just follow me. Kai waved his hand. I understand. She was still hesitant, but ultimately accepted his invitation. Kai then turned around and started running with great speed. The group followed him right behind while looking around to check their surroundings. There might be a detail that they needed to remember. Kai also took a few notes during this run, considering the beasts would most likely go here if he failed to stop them in his place. After a few minutes, they could see 3 hills standing side by side. Laura, who had more understanding in a defensive battle, instantly recognized the potential of this place and asked, How about setting up the base here? That's the plan. Kai nodded. For now, let me take a look at the hills first. Kai shrugged. She nodded. The hills were not that high, but they covered a vast area. They would have enough time to descend if there were a breach in their defense, and with this kind of hill, the magical beasts would be more inclined to destroy them first. After half an hour of looking at the three hills from all directions, he understood the gist of what he needed to make. I have made the plan before. The base is correct, just need a bit of adjustment. Kai nodded before looking at Michelle. Bring me the picture. Michelle nodded and opened her device. The group looked into the picture of the base after being edited by Kai according to his need. This. Seriously. Laura blinked her eyes a few times as she couldn't believe what she saw. This is incredible. The group looked at her because they didn't really understand the meaning behind this concept. As Kai was about to explain, Laura had begun pointing at the left hill and said, "Look at this hill. There are 4 entrances in this hill. With the natural terrain, we can direct the magical beasts elsewhere, separating the 4 entrances into 16. It will give a huge advantage for our people to handle this kind of number. At the same time, I can see fences here and there. These fences should be enough to direct the magical beasts to a dead end or something. We can even ask the soldiers to become a fence, but I think that won't be necessary for the first half of the battle. After slaughtering them, we can simply throw them off the hill. Each slope has 1 or 2 places to be a shelter from the magical beast corpses, and if we accumulate enough monster corpses on the foot of this hill, we can create a wall or some sort. The same applies to the right hill. What makes this more interesting is the middle hill. From what I can see, this hill allows the movement of the soldiers more smoothly. In other words, the soldiers from the middle can go to the other 2 as a reinforcement. If we apply this and that, we will have a huge fortress ready." She just couldn't believe what Kai had come up with. Although it wasn't as good as her grandfather, she knew that Kai was already out of her league. "Yeah, we're using the natural terrain. I think 40,000 people will be enough to handle the transformation in 2 days. My prediction is 1 day, but since there are students, I don't have much hope." Kai sighed. "It's fine, the students are not that much in number," she assured him. "After that, we will set up a meeting and disperse the soldiers. Teacher Yuki, I'll be counting on you in this part." "Leave it to me." Yuki smiled at Kai while looking at the terrain. "Teacher will be holding the left hill. Ayaka and 1 officer from the army will be helping you." "Yes, sir. As for the other hill, I would like to ask for your help." Kai looked at the other teacher. He never really met the teacher, so he didn't care much about him. "Laura and Michelle will help you. And yeah, 1 officer from here. I am not that confident, but I should be able to manage the soldiers. The rest will depend on the situation." "Sure," Kai nodded. "If we have too many magical beasts marching to the top, we will use the soldiers to push them off the hills, allowing us to create a temporary barrier for breathing. We should do it every 2 hours, so the students and soldiers can rest." The group acknowledged his order and kept listening. For Laura and the teacher Yuki brought with her, this was their first experience to see Kai in full charge. They realized why Kai got an exception. "I will send the details to each of you later. Or Michelle, well, I hope you can supervise the construction." Kai nodded. "That's all about the hills. We will bring the soldiers here first and set up the headquarters for our army. Have the students rest for half an hour before directing them here when they arrive. And since the trees around us will be trampled by magical beasts sooner or later, we will cut them down and use them for the terrain construction. After that, we will be setting up traps and explosives. I will need to survey the area for these, because I don't know about our supplies previously." After listening to his direction, the group nodded. Ayaka suddenly found something was wrong. "How long are we going to fight?" "My prediction, with that number, 3 days. The night?" "Of course I have prepared for that, so don't worry." Kai waved his hand. "I can also go to the front line to gather their attention a bit and to inspire the soldiers. Well, I can use my magic power. Tasha can also change the weather again." Ayaka agreed with the plan. "Besides, I'm sure that the army has capable people, right?" "Of course." Yuki was the one who answered her question. "Still, I am worried about that Brad, or should I call him Brat, as in a brat instead? He's like a kid that the parents can't free from worry. I have expected it. That's the reason why I recruited the students to participate. With our number, we should have enough to spare. My prediction is that we can bring 15,000 people to other battlefields," Kai assured her. "Well, it's my teacher's idea at first. In that case, I can fight to the fullest." "Should we set up an escape route?" Michelle asked. "There is an escape route behind the hill, but I will probably use it for sending reinforcement or going around them to attack from behind. I can't give the details unless I have seen the situation itself. Kai looked down, falling into deep thought. I don't have a problem with this arrangement. Ayaka thought it was already good enough and didn't have any more questions. Same. Michelle raised her hands and stepped back. It's been a while to see you in charge. It feels nice to stand back and listen to an order. And it's an understanding order, not a ridiculous one. Yuki also stepped back, feeling comfortable with the current plan. I will go back to the base to bring the soldiers. Without waiting for Kai to answer, she already turned around and left. I also don't have a problem. The other teacher also agreed with the plan and decided to follow Yuki instead. He felt a bit embarrassed to see all students were together while he was the only teacher. The rest then looked at Laura, waiting for her answer. Laura paused for a second before letting out a long sigh. I finally understand why my grandfather thought highly of you. I'm in. All right then. Let's turn this area into a natural fortress. Chapter 386. Emergency. Not long after Yuki left to call the other officers, she brought 10 officers that seemed to be helpful for this battle. I have brought them, Kai. The soldiers will arrive in an hour, Yuki reported while walking toward him. Kai looked at them with a calm expression and asked, Before we discuss the battle plan, I would like to ask if any of you trust me. Surprisingly, 8 out of 10 raised their hands. You may not know this, but we have seen you in that battle, commanding the troops that changed the situation. One of those who raised their hands said, What battle? Kai furrowed his eyebrows. The battle with that spider, I see. Kai closed his eyes for a second. What about the two of you? The first one decided to answer, Honestly, I can't trust you 100%, but I can follow your command. I am about the same. The other one acknowledged it as well, making things smoother. However, Kai also noticed that the reason they could follow him wasn't due to himself, it was due to his rank. Looking at their rank, they were ranked lower than him, so his words were the order here. That's fine. If you can follow my command, it will be better than secretly trying to do something of your own. After all, it may accidentally mess up the entire plan. Kai nodded. Please follow my order. The rest will be your discretion. Are we good with this arrangement? The two exchanged looks and nodded. They both saluted while saying, Sir Kai Carter, good. Let's go to the top of this hill first. We will be stationing ourselves there. Kai pointed at the middle hill while smiling. He took the first step to enter the hill before picking up the pace. He just wanted to show a bit of his strength, so they placed more weight on his words. Those officers seemed to understand as well. Concerning his strength, they had no more complaints. Kai then began explaining his plan again to these officers, but added more details than last time. The officers finally realized Kai's carefully thought plan and recognized Kai as the leader of this army. As soon as they finished the meeting, they dispersed, starting their terraforming the hills and the woods on the foot of the hills. With so many people, the work went pretty fast, and Kai was quite satisfied with it. Since the trees would end up getting trounced by the magical beasts or devastated by their attacks, Kai decided to use them instead. The soldiers spread the trees all over the ground according to Kai, unaware of their usage. After the woods, they had a small field where they planted explosives as a trap. Kai forbade them to use the explosives on the hill because it might cause a landslide or something. At the very least, he didn't want this fortress to get ruined by something stupid. Still, most of the soldiers picked up a gun here since they would be facing them from a distance. Isabel obviously became a part of this squad. When he checked it again, there were around 25,000 gunners in this army, while the rest were fighters. After a while, the students finally arrived. Kai didn't show mercy on them and quickly forced them to help with the construction, not letting a single of them off even if they were a part of the top 100 groups. But, as one would expect, the busiest person would be Evan. He needed to take care of the entire army with the medic group. The rest of his group also had their own tasks, so Kai didn't bother them and continued with his work. The next morning, Kai was watching the entire soon-to-be battlefield from the very top, with a severe expression. What are you doing here? A female's voice resounded in his ears. When he turned around, he saw Laura climbing up to his position. No, what are you doing here? I am just catching fresh air. She shrugged. Kai narrowed his eyes. Tommy was mad at me. I am just here to chill, she sighed. Just don't push him too much. He knows you and respects you, but… I know, Laura smiled. Well, I have been working for it. But as you can see, It's not that easy. Anyway, I want to confirm the battle plan for tomorrow. Do you find a hole in our defense? Not really. I want to confirm it. According to your plan, we are going to defend the hill normally, but there is this one variable that I can't understand. That's the real plan. Although defending the hill is good, we need one force to swipe the battlefield to create a gap in the enemy rank to allow people to take a breath. Even if it is only a few minutes, it will help the battle overall, Kai explained. The plan is to have the left hill send out their troops and swipe the battlefield, right? Yes. The number is not important. The strength is. Kai smiled. I will be leading them personally, I see. Then I will defend the right hill and try to give you a way to climb the hill. The moment you enter the right hill, you can return to the left hill with the passage from the center hill, I see. Now it's clearer. That's the gist of it. Kai nodded. That's why the middle and right hills only have 10,000 each, while the rest go to the left hill. Of course, I will normally stand by on the center hill, so you don't need to worry if there is a miscommunication. I will handle it immediately. In that case, I don't think I need to ask anymore. I am just impressed to see someone at your level, even though you are 1 year younger than me. Is this the power of Professor Rhea Ross? My teacher taught me on the previous holiday, so yeah, the rest comes from experience. Kai nodded. Haha, having Rhea Ross as your teacher is great, but the burden is also big. I don't think I will be able to withstand it. She turned around. Anyway, I have confirmed the plan. Are you going back now? We're having a meeting after this, right? Kai thought for a moment and nodded. I will be going with you. She smiled and walked to their headquarters together. Almost all of them were present, so Kai waited for a bit more before hearing someone running to the tent. An emergency. Suddenly, a soldier rushed into the tent while shouting, "We have an emergency, what happened?" The officers stood up when they saw them, instinctively wanting to move. Before the soldier could explain, they felt the ground shaking for 1 minute. Kai widened his eyes. The eruption comes earlier than expected. The people in the tent had their expressions darkened because all of them knew that the construction wasn't done yet. How's the progress of our construction team? Kai asked. It's in the finishing process. We can finish it by noon, but Laura answered with a hesitant tone before looking at the outside. Her face was filled with concern. What are we going to do? Yuki asked. Shall we fight them like this? What is their ETA? Kai looked at Michelle. 1 hour from now. There are 4 more hours before noon. Kai looked down, falling into deep thought. He suddenly looked at the people in this room and said coldly, "We will attack them with 15,000 soldiers." What? The officers dropped their jaw, never expecting Kai to give that kind of order. This is going to be bad, isn't it? Ayaka furrowed her eyebrows. Yes, that's why I will be leading the army myself, said Kai with a serious expression. Have the soldiers here to speed up the process. I will buy them enough time to complete the construction. I am sorry, Commander. I'm afraid I have to disagree with this mission. It's a suicide. What we will be facing are countless magical beasts that have no end. We will be swarmed by them sooner or later. It's better to defend them here. One of the officers who said he couldn't trust Kai decided to voice out his opinion. Kai understood his good intention, but it just infuriated him. He slammed the table and shouted, "Then, are you expecting me to wait here?" No. The officer thought Kai had lost it and wanted to argue with him, but Kai stopped him with a wave of his hand. I will let you know this. I am rather losing 100 people here and 50 people later than letting 200 people die because of the current condition. The officer gasped and felt that what he said was true. I can't give you any promise, but I will do my best to lower our casualties. I won't let them die. Kai sent a cold gaze toward all of them. Even the officer that was about to rebuke him suddenly saluted. Yes, sir, I obey your command. The others smiled and nodded their heads. Have 4 officers stand by here. The rest will help me lead the army. I only have one thing to say for you. Follow my lead. The details will be according to your own style. That's all. Anyone have an objection? Kai narrowed his eyes. The room fell silent as no one disagreed. We will strike them. Those who are fearless will follow me, said Kai while walking away, and all the people in the room began arranging the soldiers and such. Chapter 387. Starting meanwhile, in another place, the birds had begun flying to the sky while the animals' roars echoed in the foot of the volcano. They seemed to have sensed that the mountain would soon erupt. The ground began shaking, and the smoke above the mountain became even bigger. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed in their ears before they heard a thunderclap. Boom! The smoke flew to the sky, the molten rocks were launched into the air, and the magma flowed on the surface. The volcano had erupted. The magical beasts began to panic, and the area was filled with noises. They were trying to escape from this predicament together with the other races. Suddenly, two loud sounds took over their sound, silencing all the noises other than the volcano. The magical beasts fell silent when they listened to it. Surprisingly, all magical beasts went in one's direction. Even those behind the volcano went around it within a safe distance and headed straight toward the military base. Those that were fortunate enough to be in the direction they were heading followed the instruction without hesitation. In fact, they became even more enraged, trying to pummel everything on their way. No matter if it was trees or ruins, they smashed them without a care of the world. The first magical beast that let out a roar that controlled the magical beasts was a huge monkey that appeared to have the body of a gorilla, despite not being one. And the second beast was a wildebeest, leading the herd to go around the volcano. Their movements were so organized beyond belief. However, none of the humans were watching this because no one dared to venture to this area just yet. They only got the data and visual from the satellite to know that the enemies were coming to them. Little did they know, they missed out on an important detail. They would never expect that the magical beasts that were supposed to go in all directions changed their destination, increasing the original number in their prediction to 3 times. Kai, we are ready. Yuki came to the top of the hill after finding him there. We still have time. Kai shook his head. We will wait another 30 minutes before marching forward. Have the soldiers pick up the pace. It's done already. Yuki nodded. I see. Is there any response from the other armies? Only one, General. Brad only said you have the full right to command it according to the agreement. I won't interfere. Kai narrowed his eyes. We will fight conservatively then, so as to not mess up with their plan. I thought so. Yuki nodded. How about our troops? 15,000 fighters and 2,000 gunners. That's good enough. Kai nodded. My team, everyone is ready except Evan. All right. Kai nodded. Tell the soldiers to stand by. I will head there as soon as I think it's time for us to go. Sure. She waved her hand and descended the hill. This is going to be a long fight, Kai muttered while looking at the horizon. He couldn't really mess up with the enemies because they will focus more on the armies beside him, which would affect their battle plan. He didn't intend to become their burden, so he decided to use another plan. After a long wait, Kai leaped to the sky, used his sound levitation magic, and gradually descended the hill, heading straight to the advance group. He found Yuki and the others along with thousands of soldiers. When Yuki found him, she gave a gesture as if telling him to give his speech. Kai twitched his eyebrows. He didn't really like giving a speech like this, but this seemed to be necessary at the moment. He floated to the air and shouted, My name is Kai Carter, your commander. I know that many of you have dissatisfaction with me being your commander, but I don't give a damn to it. Just follow my command. The soldiers blinked their eyes a few times, as if they couldn't understand what he was saying. That speech just showed how arrogant he was. Luckily, there were no students other than his group and a few important people to avoid unnecessary casualties. Otherwise, they would shout, not caring about Kai's rank. Just remember that my command has gone to many trains of thoughts. That's why I asked you to follow my command. Kai's expression turned grim as he saluted. Still, it is an honor to fight by your side in this battle. I, Kai, will be right in front of you. The soldiers acted differently. Instead of shouting or clapping their hands, they simply saluted back. The last sentence of his was really a game changer. Normally, the generals stay behind because fighting a large number of enemies would exhaust them. Hence, they kept rotating back and forth. However, Kai said that he would be in front of them all the time. They perceived his words as the declaration that he would be the last one to retreat. For someone who gave that kind of resolve, they needed to give a salute to him and watched whether he told the truth or not. All right, let's move out. Kai leaped to the sky, landing on the very front as he started walking toward the enemies. From their pace and the magical beast's speed, they would likely clash half an hour from the base. So it should be enough to give enough sense of urgency in the soldiers' minds. especially those staying behind. Each officer quickly went to their group and shouted to move out, following Kai's direction. On the way, Kai separated his army into 4 armies, left, right, and middle army, as well as the gunner army. Yuki was in charge of the left army, while the other teacher took the right one. Isabel led the gunner army, while he personally controlled the middle army. They crossed another hill along the way, before arriving in a huge plain. This was supposed to be their battlefield, since the magical beasts should arrive in a matter of minutes. Someone brought a binocular and saw something in the sky. "I have spotted something," she shouted. "The enemies are here." Kai's expression turned serious as the army became tense. Although it was just a portion of the entire number, they needed to clash against 200,000 to 300,000 magical beasts for a few hours. This was something hard to do. Even for a seasoned general, Kai only had one order: "We will fight them in this plain and slowly retreat our way to the hill we passed along the way. After the construction is finished, we will quickly retreat to our fortress." His voice resounded in everyone's ears. It was a simple order, and they quickly acknowledged such thinking, at least those who had experiences in the army. Yuki, Isabel, and another officer came to him, asking for his command. "The 3 of you are to remain standby. My middle army will open the path. You are not going to pierce through them, right?" Isabel recognized Kai's plan while shaking her head helplessly. "Yes, I have my own plan for that. Besides, it will become quite serious, so you need to cover us from airborne attack." "Okay, Roger," Isabel said while smirking. She was pretty excited to see Kai commanding an entire army from up close, considering she was usually on the back or never saw his appearance during a mission like this. "Should I get someone to replace my position to help you?" "It's fine. My group will be leading this." Kai smiled. "Besides, I can't afford to have so many casualties in this fight. So, you are going to torture yourself?" Yuki let out a long sigh. "Fine. I will do my job perfectly so that you won't have any complaints." "Yes. Thank you." Kai smiled and turned to the other officer. She only nodded her head, acknowledging Kai's order. "Anyway, no need to be so nervous." Kai shrugged and stepped forward, listening to the numerous footsteps that would soon swarm this field. The dust kicked up by the magical beasts rose to the air. Not knowing why, the soldiers began to suck cold air, as if a storm swept the area. The magical beasts began to make their appearance from the woods, entering the huge plain. Everyone instinctively clenched their weapons, steeling their heart to fight those monsters. Kai, who was slightly in a taller place than the others, couldn't see the end of the magical beasts. Not only it stretched to left and right endlessly, but the lines behind the monsters were also so long. Roar, roar. A series of roars filled the entire field, making the soldiers cower a little. Seeing that the morale became pretty low, Kai shouted before running toward the magical beasts alone. "If you don't know what to do, just watch my back. I will lead you to victory. Those who want to win, follow me." The middle army was stunned for a second before they realized what they needed to do. Michelle shouted, "Follow Commander Kai." Tasha shouted, "Let's wreck the enemies." "Follow the commander." The 2 shouts became 4, became 10, and became 100. And before long, all of them roared and started chasing Kai's back. Kai jumped to the air while activating his sonic sword. The moment he landed, he waved his sword vertically, killing the first enemy and blowing it in 2 directions. He kept marching forward with that speed, as if there wasn't a single magical beast in his way. When the army saw that, they were in awe, and their shouts were once again clearly heard on the battlefield. With that high morale, they began the first clash. Chapter 38:8 First Clash. The shockwave that Kai and his army brought shook the other 2 armies. They were especially watching how Kai obliterated the enemies in front of him as if they never existed in the first place. He had yet to lose his pace since the beginning. With Michelle beside him, he perfectly pierced through the enemy rank, opening their formation for the army behind him to widen it. Kai kept checking the army's progress and watched their movement to know when to give the next order. At the same time, the magical beasts that were not affected by his charge continued coming closer to the other 2 armies. "Now, split up into 2 groups and mess them up," Kai shouted. The soldiers quickly followed his order and spread it to the left and right. They delivered the shockwave to the side, forcing the enemies, who mostly faced forward, to collapse. "Michelle, give them a big one." Kai smiled while glancing at Michelle. The latter nodded and slashed her sword to the left and right, releasing her shadow slash to these two directions. This became a signal for Tasha to make her first move. Tasha appeared with her teleportation magic as Kai helped her to fly above the enemies in the front. Since the soldiers spread to the side, only a few people could take care of the ones before them. Tasha was the perfect solution for this situation. She quickly used her teleportation magic and sent those beasts to the sky, turning the weather into magical beasts of rain. It was a spectacular sight. Most of the soldiers had heard it by now about this phenomenon and felt glad to see it with their own eyes. Tasha teleported a total of 300 magical beasts, creating a quite gap in their rank, so the soldiers didn't need to worry about them being attacked from this direction. For a couple of minutes, seeing the progress, Kai raised his hand before waving it down. This was the signal for the other two armies. They both shouted at the same time, "Forward! Decimate our enemies!" The armies began to move, clashing with the enemies that were only 15 meters away from them. As one would expect, it was a one-sided battle. Kai managed to increase their morale by charging from the very front and united the group as a whole. After 15 minutes or so, Kai realized that the magical beasts from left and right would begin to surround them, so they needed to gain their distance again. "Let's retreat." Kai signaled the army behind him. "Retreat. We are going to retreat to the hill slowly. Our time is 30 minutes, and defend the hill for 2 hours." Yuki's shout resounded in everyone's ears. The three armies acknowledged the order since it came from Kai's signal. They gradually retreated step by step, making their way to the hill. When they were only 200 meters away from the hill they passed before reaching the battlefield, Ayaka finally appeared next to Kai. "Sorry for the wait. I have rechecked everything. We are good to go." Ayaka nodded with a smile. Michelle beside him was confused as to what his plan was that involved Ayaka, but in a fight like this, there would be one thing. "Good." Kai nodded before looking at someone from his army. He grabbed a random person and instructed him to shout, "Order from Commander Kai. All soldiers are to close their ears when the count becomes 0. I will count from 10, 10, 9, 8. The soldiers were bewildered by this statement, but they kept the order into their hearts and anxiously waited for the count to reach 0. 0. The soldiers retreated a few steps back and covered their ears. "Do it." Kai looked at Ayaka with a serious expression while covering his ears with sound insulation magic. Ayaka nodded and activated the magic bomb she had planted during the time Kai brought in the first battlefield. 5 giant magic circles appeared in the enemy rank and exploded, swallowing thousands of magical beasts. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions echoed, and the soldiers could see what just happened. They thought since there wasn't an explosion anymore, the situation was under control. So they hurriedly took their hands off their ears and began their attack with higher morale. What Kai showed, whether his fighting skill, Tasha's weird weather, or even these explosions had pierced through their hearts. Despite following the most reckless order possible, it turned out that Kai had prepared anything to ensure their win and lives. "Kill those in front of you and retreat to the hill. We will retreat again if the enemies begin to surround us," Kai shouted. "Ooh!" They roared and killed the magical beasts in their front. Because of the gap caused by Ayaka's explosions, only around 200 beasts in the very front, so the group quickly took care of them and retreated to the hill. The magical beasts horde in their left and right seemed to be slowing down to this explosion, as they were wondering what just happened. Kai took this chance to bring the entire army to the hill and fought with a height advantage. This was especially true for Ayaka and the others from the school. He chose only those who were the best in school. So when he ordered them to release their magic, numerous magic flew down the hill, killing many magical beasts at once. Continue. Shoot your magic every 5 minutes. Make sure you kill at least one of them with your magic or you are suck, even though you are in the top 100 groups in the magic school. Obviously, Kai didn't forget to provoke them to raise their fighting spirit. The students had more pride than the soldiers since they had less experience, so it worked well for the most part. And those who realized that Kai only taunted them decided to act as if they got baited. It was a good order overall, as they reduced the burden that the soldiers had on their shoulders. Kai himself even fought on the foot of the hill alone, showing his martial might. No one could dispute that the strongest student in their school was Kai. He alone killed around 500 magical beasts just by swinging his sword alone, not like Ayaka or Tasha's magic. Yuki and the others respected his decision and didn't help him down there. Kai said that he needed to do it to inspire the army. The soldiers felt something rising in their hearts. The person they thought made it through the connection, which obviously came from Brad Matthews' opinion, opened their eyes once more. His achievement was real. In fact, they really wanted the media to interview them right now so they could tell them how true the information that Ria Ross announced during that speech. The fight continued for 2 hours, just like how he promised them to delay the magical beasts for several hours. They also had the time to retreat from this hill to their fort, which would take at least 1 hour. The construction should have finished by that time. 2.5 hours later, the army had almost arrived at the fort. Even though they were tired, their morale was pretty high because they could kill many magical beasts during the first exchange. Now, run as fast as you can and climb the hill. Make sure you don't get caught with the explosives, Kai shouted. Tend the injured and recover as much energy as you can during this period. You shall return to the front line in 15 minutes. Where is my reply? Yes, sir. The army moved in one breath, following Kai's instruction with full trust. As much as they hated to admit it, Kai was indeed a capable commander. Yuki chuckled when she saw how Kai easily gained full control of the vanguard. Ayaka and Michelle saw through Kai's intention during this time and exchanged looks. They could only shake their heads helplessly, knowing that Kai would have done it in a way or another. They would soon begin their defensive battle with a fully functional natural fort. Meanwhile, Brad Matthew was discussing their battle plan in their tent, especially after Kai brought his army to the front. It would surely affect the overall situation. That is the situation. What do you think, General? One of the officers reported to Brad, our scout. They said there was no chance in the horde direction. They only slowed down a bit, and that's all. We can safely assume that Kai Carter and his army is slowing them down, but not changing the overall situation. Brad thought for a moment. I see. That is possible with those ears. As long as he doesn't mess up, I think it's safe to assume that we won't change our original plan. I understand. That's a relief, since fighting with a 15 minutes plan will surely have some loopholes. Yeah, and how is their movement? He keeps retreating, but according to the scout that keeps track of their battle, they said Kai Carter had claimed 20,000 magical beasts with only 1,000 casualties, in which only half of them were dead. The rest could be expected to recover since they have the famous Evan Young in their medic team. Brad looked at the ceiling while closing his eyes. He was deep in thought, trying to understand Kai's plan. Suddenly, he remembered what his mentor, Nathan Graham, said to him in the past. It was a ridiculous one, but when one pulled it off, they would create an army of demons. He opened his eyes and asked again, how many casualties did his army take yesterday? The officers tilted their heads in confusion until one of them rose from her seat and reported, roughly 1,000. 1,000. Only 1,000. Brad lowered his head with his hand on his chin. I see, so that's how it is. General, do you happen to know what happened? She asked. No, I seem to have underestimated him. Brad let out a long sigh. Chapter 389, Fight Commence. I seem to have underestimated him. Brad let out a long sigh, as if admitting his defeat, General. The officers were confused by his action and tilted their heads. He is just a famous person, with no credibility to most of us. After all, only a portion of people had seen him in action. With this kind of situation, most of our soldiers wouldn't believe him. And he also brought students who have competitive nature because of their pride. He indeed planned to buy time for the soldiers to finish the construction, but he also had a hidden agenda. This is the most important agenda. With his standing and reputation, and the fact that the soldiers are gathered from many bases around us in an emergency, their morale is at an all-time low. Speaking plainly, there is a huge gap between those who know him personally and those who never saw him in action when it comes to their will to fight. Due to that, it would be impossible for them to fight as one army. Hence, Kai Carter made the decision to wreak havoc on the enemy line in the name of buying time. However, he also carefully used the terrain to his advantage to reduce his number of casualties. Those who are aware of Kai's fame might have mistakenly believed that Kai really wanted to buy time earlier. However, as far as the others concerned, Their impression of the earlier battle was of their army being on a relentless, one-sided offense in which the magical beasts could not hurt them at all, and thanks to that, those who followed him have found a new source of confidence, and confidence in themselves corresponds to morale. His soldiers could be considered an entirely different entity compared to yesterday. The moment he shows it to those who are constructing the fort, the confidence will spread even further. Brad explained the whole situation while covering his face with his hand. What most officers stared dumbfoundedly at their general. They couldn't believe that a student could do that. We don't need to take care of their own asses anymore. Prepare to intercept the horde. All of you go into your positions. Brad rose from his seat and ordered all officers. They instinctively stood up and saluted.
Yes, sir.
At the same time, Brad's expectation was correct. Those 17,000 people who followed Kai during the first clash had high morale despite being injured and exhausted. They just never saw someone killing 20,000 magical beasts while having 1,000 as their casualties. On the battlefield, Kai was watching from the very top of the center hill, watching how the magical beasts began to arrive in their position. The moment they found humans on the hill, they stopped for once and roared. A series of roars followed right after that, shaking the entire ground. What is this tremor? No way. The soldiers were in disbelief, but some of them looked at Kai's serious expression that seemed to have predicted everything. They chose to trust him and clenched their weapons, ready to fight according to his order. Roar, roar. The magical beasts finally charged toward the hill. Kai had yet to send the order to attack, making people confused, but no one dared to release the first shot. Yuki came to him and asked, "Commander, your order." Kai didn't answer her. Instead, he closed his eyes, listening to the sounds of the footsteps. He could also hear the anxiety of people that were trying to calm themselves down. When the magical beasts were about to ascend the hill, Kai opened his eyes and raised his hand. "Do it," Yuki shouted while giving the signal to the other hills. "Do it." The next second, a series of explosions occurred on the battlefield, stretching far to the left and right. Boom, boom, boom. It was like never-ending explosions, considering they had planted all the explosives they had. Kai chose this as an opening to raise their morale again, making sure the first fight had the biggest impression. Ooh, the soldiers started cheering when they saw many magical beasts were obliterated by the explosions. After all, those explosions killed around 50,000 magical beasts in one go. Even if they needed to fight 100,000 or 200,000, they needed not fear because they still had their precious air support. Fighters, eliminate those who have gone past the explosion's range and begin climbing our hills. Gunners, aims those far away. Shower them with our bullets, Kai commanded. Soon enough, the gunners began to shoot the enemies like how people in the past were raining their enemies with arrows. Meanwhile, the fighters began cleaning the hill from those who managed to penetrate their defense. It was swept so easily beyond belief. However, the magical beasts kept coming. Even with 20,000 gunners, not all of them could kill the beasts. Some magical beasts even had a stronger defense that normal bullets couldn't pierce. Those beasts managed to get into the foot of the hill. Starting to climb the hill, Kai simply gave another order. Rain them down with your magic. If you can't, don't claim yourself as one of the students from Magic Academy. After getting his order, the students began showering them with their magic, not wanting to look bad in front of Kai. Obviously, the first ones to attack were those top 100 groups who followed him in the first clash. It took them half an hour before the entire horde could get closer to the hill. By that time, many monsters had died. The moment they entered the foot of the hill, they began to spread over the hill and began climbing. The fighters began to descend the hill to stop them, while the gunners kept thinning their number as a whole. Kai looked at this situation while furrowing his eyebrows. Michelle stood behind him with a serious expression, knowing that he was raring to go. "Now, yeah, I will go to the right hill." Kai nodded. "Do we need to change the attack area for the gunners?" Michelle asked. "I will ask you to do that. Tell the gunners that there will be a line where they can't shoot beyond that. That will be the place where the army I will lead right now to cut the line, allowing them time for a breather." Kai nodded. "I understand." She acknowledged the command and asked someone to relay the message to the two leaders for the other two hills, sweeping the enemies from right to left before retreating through the left hill and using the center hill for the bridge to cross over to the right hill. That way, we can keep fighting. Michelle closed her eyes with a frown. Yeah, that's the gist of my plan. This will be a tiring day. Depending on the performance from the first day, we can see how long we are going to keep fighting. Kai explained his plan, unaware of the fact that the enemies they faced this time were at least double the number they predicted. In other words, since they predicted they would fight more than 200,000, they would need to fight around 400,000, if not 500,000. It wasn't like Kai's soldiers were immortal. After fighting that long, his number would seriously be reduced and the fight would take longer. However, they still didn't know that they needed to fight that long. Kai only kept track of what they needed to do during the battle until he could see the end of the enemy line. Suddenly, someone rushed toward Kai and saluted. "Commander, the soldiers are ready to be dispatched at your order." Kai nodded and turned around. "Let's go then. Where is Ayaka?" "She should be with Tasha, so the gunner division," Michelle answered. "We grab her first. Let's go." Kai turned around and flew to Ayaka while bringing Michelle with him. They found Ayaka with Tasha and Michelle, who were busy sniping the enemies. Ayaka widened her eyes. "Do you need something from me? How is your magic power?" Kai asked. Ayaka instantly realized his plan when asking about her magic power. She looked at the magical beasts and said, "I am ready for 2 more rounds. For now, we will take the initiative and use the first round. Tomorrow will be the second round. I am sorry to put a burden on you, but this is an emergency. Don't worry. I won't be tired since I won't really fight if I don't have magic power, but you are going to be more tired than me, Michelle, too." Ayaka smiled, assuring him, "You are planning to conserve your stamina for tomorrow, right?" "Yes. I feel like when our troops are exhausted, it's the time for me to raise their morale again." Kai nodded with a serious expression. "Then, I will steal the spotlight on the first day." Ayaka nodded. "Tasha, can I ask you to protect Ayaka? Maybe 1 or 2 teleportation magic will be enough. Your condition will be a bit harsher during the evening after all, and we still need to fight during the night." Kai sighed. "I see. Don't worry. If your plan succeeds, we should be able to deal with at least 150,000 magical beasts in 1 day and finish in the second day. In fact, we can start helping the other armies that day." Tasha nodded in understanding. "Thank you," Alex smiled. "Let's go then, Isabel. I leave this post on you." "Okay, Captain Oops, Commander." Isabel smirked. Kai then turned around, leaving with the girls. Unbeknownst to them, the one in danger was not Kai, but someone else. In the depth of their rank, a monkey looked upon the horde with his hungry eyes, ready to swallow their prey. The same applied to the one next to the monkey, the wildebeest. It had fierce eyes, looking at the horizon as if he could already imagine what kind of prey he would have during this battle. However, these two were not marching toward Kai's fort. Instead, they walked towards somewhere else. Chapter 3090, Magic. "How is the progress?" asked Brad to the officer beside him. "It's normal, General. However, we found something troublesome during the check we ran an hour ago." "And what is that?" "We have yet to see the end of the magical beasts. If it is around 1 million beasts, we should be able to see the end, because their number is split into 5. We have asked the other armies too, and their replies are the same. I am afraid our opponents are higher than the original number we've predicted." Brad looked down and fell in deep thought. What is that brat's reply? He has yet to see the end, despite the magical beasts lining up for 5 kilometers. In that case, there is a high possibility that we will be fighting more than 1 million. Send specialized troops to scout our enemies again and ascertain their number. I understand. And have the officers meet me again. I will change my strategy a little bit. The assistant nodded before asking, "How about we ask Kai Carter to scout, General?" With his ears, he doesn't need to penetrate deep in the enemy line. Brad gritted his teeth. "No, we won't rely on that brat. We will send our own scouts, request reinforcement from the headquarters. We need at least 400,000 soldiers to win this fight. If possible, bring other generals as well, especially those above my rank." "This is an emergency." "Understood. I shall convey the message to the headquarters." The assistant turned around and left. Brad Matthew finally went toward the battlefield, observing the entire battle for a few seconds. The left side was quite subtle since most of them went toward Kai instead of him due to how spectacular Kai Carter charmed all these beasts. On the other side, the soldiers managed to hold on just fine. Suddenly, he found 3 magical beasts that were different from the rest on the horizon. The left beast was a monkey. It could fly in the sky by using its magic. Next to him was a giant wildebeest. Unlike the others, this one had a 30 meters tall body. If it charged at them, it would surely destroy their rank. The furthest one on the right was a falcon, flying with the same speed as the 2. Brad looked at his hand. I am sweating. His body trembled as he drew a gasp. They are the bosses of this horde. Why are they coming here? Suddenly, he noticed that the wildebeest released lightning, covering his body with that lightning. It lowered its head as the lightning slowly gathered on his horn before fusing together to create a small bolt of lightning. However, Brad felt dread upon seeing that technique. Not good. Brad took out his spear and pointed it at the wildebeest. A blue magic circle appeared in front of him as he thrust his spear toward the magic circle. The moment it hit, the magic circle released sharp and thin ice. It kept summoning more and more ice until it reached the target. Seeing this, the wildebeest shot the lightning he stored earlier. It became the clash of lightning and ice magic. The shock wave could be felt by all people on the battlefield. Unfortunately, Brad's ice seemed to be weaker than the lightning and got destroyed. The lightning struck forth toward Brad, planning to obliterate them. As he was about to receive it himself, a middle-aged man appeared and stretched his hand to the front. No, you won't. A huge, translucent blue screen appeared out of thin air, blocking the lightning until it dissipated. What the heck is this? Magical beasts are using magic now, he asked while glancing at Brad. I am as shocked as you are. Brad shook his head helplessly. I have never heard anything about this. So, we need to deal with this, huh? It sucks. The middle-aged man had 2 stars on his shoulder and began unbuttoning his shirt. I will accompany you then. But I don't think someone is strong enough to deal with the 3rd one. In fact, I feel like it will be too much of a burden for me just to handle one. Brad nodded before ordering someone behind him. Send out an emergency code to the headquarters. Emergency code. Wait a minute. Don't we have someone who can deal with them? The middle-aged man furrowed his eyebrows. What is his name again? Kai Carter. Are you telling me to give this important matter to a kid? You just can't trust them. They're more capable than you think. You know, my son and daughter are so capable. They can even surprise me with their strength. He shrugged. Shut up. I'd rather die than relying on a student. The middle-aged man sighed. Well, I will take that wildebeest. I wonder if they are an S-rank magical beast. After all, a rank beast might be able to utilize their magic power, but it wasn't at the level of magic like this. Impossible. There is a huge difference between an A rank and an S rank, and we don't have enough information to claim it as an S rank magical beast. Well, it's indeed as you say, but I am just worried that my faint heart can't take the fact that I will need to face 3 S rank magical beasts. Even Rhea Ross can only take 1 with so many elites. Can you shut up? I'm trying to think here, Brad snarled. The middle-aged man raised his hands in defeat before taking out his device. He took another look at the beasts to confirm their movement. Luckily, it seemed the first attack was only a greeting. They remained the same after that attack, giving him a bit more time. He typed a few words on his communication device. What are you typing? Brad twitched his eyebrows. I am writing my will just in case, he shrugged. Are you trying to say we are going to lose? No. I am just indirectly insulting you by not trusting students just because they are students. I mean, I know that you have a trauma with a student, but you need to act professionally. I, Dunn, will do so if I am the leader. He shrugged. Shut up. No matter if they are powerful or not, students are students. That's why you hate your son. Brad didn't answer it this time, nor he became in complete denial like before. Instead, he released his killing intent. Fine, I won't speak about it anymore. This is why I am worried about you. Dunn let out a long sigh. He typed the last sentence while muttering it out loud. I love you, my wives. Take care of the kids for me. Brad clenched his teeth and shouted, Fine, call the kids here. Do you think they can leave their post and make their way here? If they lose too many soldiers, they will be the ones getting overrun by the magical beasts. Oh, so you are worried about them instead. It seems I have been wrong about you, Dunn chuckled. Well, that student has a sister with teleportation magic, right? He will probably arrive here. But it's not like we can reach those magical beasts with this current situation. True, if they were to reach those three beasts, they would be swarmed by the beasts on the way. They first needed to advance their troops to make sure their fight would go uninterrupted. The same applied to Kai. If he were here, he wouldn't be able to fight alone. That was why Brad was against the idea the whole time. His trauma just spiced it up. No matter how low it is, we need all the help we can get, and that kid has killed a protector before, right? I am sure he is strong enough to handle the beast. Dunn shrugged. Whatever. If he can come, then come. Even if he can't do it, I will fix his mess. He snorted before reprimanding Dunn for one thing. And I never hate my son. You are such a dishonest guy. Anyway, I think it's time to go. Those three are starting to get closer again. Dunn pointed at the three beasts. We will need to buy time until the reinforcement comes. For example, we need at least 4 hours for the emergency reinforcement to come. As for the kid, I am not sure. It's not like he can help us alone. We have no soldiers to spare to protect him while fighting one of the three beasts. I have read his report, but yeah, I don't know how much is true. Brad turned around and shouted, Ken, come here. A man with 1 star on his shoulder came and saluted. Do you need me, General? You are the strongest after Dunn and me here. I want you to stop the monkey while I am killing the falcon. I understand. I will do my best. Ken nodded with a serious expression and looked at the monkey Brad's focus, then returned to the three beasts and shouted, All troops advance forward. The three beasts can attack you from their place, so we will kill them first. To do that, you need to protect the three of us until we kill them. If you trust me, fight with your lives on the line. I, Brad Matthew, will be right behind you. Oh, the soldiers' roars echoed as they began to release more of their strength to push the enemies back. The three were waiting for the path to be cleared, so they could fight those powerful monsters with full energy. Go. Chapter 39-1. Reinforcement Bang. President Brent. Someone rushed inside the president's office. What happened? Brent furrowed his eyebrows and stood up, feeling something bad had happened after watching how the person in front of him was covered in sweat. We've gotten an emergency signal. Have the academies and other bases supported them? Brent tilted his head in confusion. This shouldn't be his responsibility, so he didn't know why the woman rushed like this. But the base that gave the emergency signal was Yukon Territory Base. What? Brent slammed his table. What happened? According to them, they are most likely to face more than 3 million magical beasts. At the same time, General Brad Matthew and his deputy, Dunn, face 3 magical beasts that can use magic. What did you say, magic? Brent narrowed his eyes. 3 magical beasts. And they can use magic. Is there a record of that? No, we haven't heard about it. Brent pinched the bridge of his nose. What is Kai Carter's status? He has performed considerably well during the fight. However, he is not fighting against the beasts at the moment, and according to Deputy Dunn's secret message, Kai Carter will be late, and the one who called the shot was Brad Matthew. Ugh, that hard-headed man. Brent gritted his teeth and punched the table. He quickly called Rhea Ross. Do you need anything from me? Rhea's lazy voice resounded in his ears. Brent gave a quick explanation about the problem, wondering if Rhea had knowledge about magical beasts using magic. What? It turned out she had no clue either. My Kai, he will be late. You should send emergency support. 200,000 will be enough to deal with the entire situation. However, you need to create the highest order, stating that my Kai will command the battle. Are you sure that is enough? We are facing 3 unknown magical beasts, you know. Even the S-rank magical beast doesn't use magic, no. I agree, but its strength is not at the level of an S-rank magical beast, right? Yes, Kai will surely solve the situation. As for the remaining beasts, you will need more soldiers to handle the situation. My Kai is enough to solve the remaining problem. If not, I will go there myself. You are moving out. 90% no, you sure? Are you not overestimating your student too much? Not really. Kai will soon surpass me, and I am far stronger than I used to be. You know what I mean. All right, you don't need to explain. I will follow your advice. Brent nodded with a serious expression. He hung up the call and looked at the person coming to his room. Have our emergency troops move. They need a few hours to reach there. So I want British Columbia and Alberta bases to send their troops as well. Each of them needs to send 50,000. I understand. She quickly left the room, carrying the order. Meanwhile, Brent wrote a formal letter with a single order. Kai Carter is to assume the leader of Yukon Territory Base with Brad Matthew as a deputy. He signed the document and sent it. I have done everything I can. If you truly win, my position will be safe and your good image will get amplified. Brent let out a long sigh, sat on his chair, and looked at the sky, feeling a bit stressed. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the battle became tenser. Oh! The soldiers kept advancing forward, as Brad and Dunn followed right before them. Fortunately, the three magical beasts seemed to be static, waiting for them to reach their place. When the distance between them remained only 50 meters, the wildebeest finally made its move. The horns began charging the lightning bolt, ready to release its powerful attack. Oh, it's coming. Dunn frowned and leaped to the front. The wildebeest planned to attack the advancing soldiers, so he planned to stop it. I will take care of the other two, Brad shouted. Sure thing, Dunn nodded. The moment the bolt of lightning struck forth, Dunn clapped his hands, summoning a giant shield. It then turned into a translucent barrier, blocking the lightning. However, Dunn realized that the power behind it was stronger than the one he received a minute ago, despite having taken Brad's power into account. Kerr! Dunn narrowed his eyes and stomped his right foot, creating another shield behind his current shield. Crack, crack. The lightning destroyed the barrier and hit the second shield, only to disappear because the power had been depleted during the first clash. It's hard indeed. Dunn furrowed his eyebrows. I shouldn't have slacked during my training. If you didn't, you would have reached the same level as mine. It's due to your laziness that you only have 2 stars on your shoulder. Brad snorted while focusing on the bird. The falcon flapped its wing, creating a horizontal tornado straight to Dunn. It seemed to be angered when Dunn blocked the attack again. On the contrary, Dunn didn't even look at it as Brad Matthew appeared in front of the attack, thrusting his spear. The magic circle released another beam of ice, clashing with the wind. The monkey suddenly appeared next to him, punching him on the side and blowing him to the ground. Bam! Brad crashed onto the ground, but he looked safe. On the exact spot the monkey hit him was broken ice that seemed to just protect him earlier. That power. Brad clenched his teeth. Brad, are you all right? Dunn glanced and found that the falcon and wildebeest attacked him simultaneously. He summoned the 2 shields to block the 2, but the lightning managed to pierce the shield, electrocuting him. Gah, you bastard! Brad roared as he quickly recovered, standing in front of Dunn. You're right, yeah? Dunn quickly stood back on his feet and narrowed his eyes. This is not going to be easy. Stopping one of them is my limit, while we need to handle 3. Hopefully, someone will come soon. When no one looked at him, the monkey sneaked around and arrived on top of the soldiers. It dove to the ground and struck the dirt. That fist released a powerful wind that blew away the soldiers. Their formation soon collapsed as the magical beasts began to overrun their rank. No, you won't. Brad appeared on the gap of their rank and placed his hand on the ground. A blue magic circle appeared below his feet as it summoned a few huge spikes from the ground, piercing the beasts. Stand up, you all need. Before he finished his words, the monkey already appeared and punched him on the cheek, blowing him away again. Brad quickly rose, but the monkey had returned to his position in the air. On the other hand, Dunn had trouble blocking the 2 attacks. Suddenly, what he feared happened. The eagle turned around and flapped its wing, sending wind flow that seemed to be different from a normal wind. Suddenly, many soldiers flew to the sky, albeit only their upper bodies. The wind was powerful enough to cut them, turning the situation even worse. Dunn focused too much on the eagle, not realizing that the wildebeest's foot was about to step on him. Boom! Commander Dunn! The soldiers shouted, never expecting that Dunn just died. Don't just kill off your commander, you little brats. I am going to spank you after this battle ends. Dunn complained as he managed to create a barrier connected to the ground to withstand the wildebeest's weight. Brad summoned a few head-sized ice cubes and threw them toward the wildebeest. Since it wouldn't be beneficial for him, the wildebeest retreated, huffed. Dunn let out a sigh of relief. Shadow slash. Suddenly, a female's voice resounded on the battlefield as 4 giant black firewalls emerged in the battlefield. It cut many magical beasts at once, securing a path to go towards the 3 magical beasts. "That's our goal," a man's voice echoed right after, before they heard roars coming from multiple people. Those who were on the higher ground saw a group of people numbering 5,000 charging straight to Brad and Dunn. "Oh, the reinforcement has come," Dunn laughed while saying, "You all are screwed." Brad gritted his teeth. He never approved this, but he hated himself to admit that no one would be a better reinforcement other than this guy. The monkey saw them and quickly flew toward Kai, punching the air. It resulted in a torrential wind that would blow Kai's group. If they took it, their momentum would stop and get swarmed by the magical beasts. To prevent this from happening, Kai used his sound blast to launch himself to the air, confronting the monkey by himself. His sword suddenly released a powerful shockwave as he cut through the wind. The shockwave deflected the wind to the side, so it couldn't reach his group. Seeing this, the monkey stopped using that magic and threw a punch at him instead. Kai already predicted it and used his sound levitation to slightly shift his body. The next second, they saw the monkey's right hand fall to the ground. The monster that Brad and Dunn had trouble with actually got slashed easily by Kai. Was this a nightmare or a good dream? They didn't know. The only thing they knew was that such a person came to the rescue, Mr. President's highest order. "I shall take the command, Michelle. Go and handle the wildebeest for me." Commander Brad Matthew, focus on the eagle. Commander Dunn, protect our soldiers. Dunn and Michelle smirked. Even Brad couldn't help but agree as they shouted in unison, "Roger." Chapter 39:2. Michaelis's Might. Roger. Michelle quickly took over Dunn's job as the latter retreated only to create a barrier to prevent any attacks from the 3 beasts toward the soldiers. However, he still couldn't understand why he arranged for Michelle to fight against the wildebeest. In fact, only Michelle and Kai came to this place. There were no other people other than the soldiers. "Are you sure she can handle the beast alone?" "They can use magic, you know," Dunn shouted. "I am well aware. I have been listening to your conversation and preparing myself here. Just trust her." Kai shrugged as he focused on his own task. "It seems that you are not convinced with my ability." Suddenly, Michelle's voice resounded despite her not opening her mouth. Yes, it was the dark Michelle. She leaped to the wildebeest's head while looking down on them. The wildebeest charged the lightning again before using it on himself. With his body covered in lightning, Michelle shouldn't be able to get close to him, albeit everything was just an illusion for the wildebeest. The 2 Michelles stepped onto Dunn's barrier while looking at the giant body. "It's going to break our shadow slash." The dark Michelle easily confirmed that their attack wouldn't be effective against this beast. "Do you mind if I go berserk?" "That's the only thing we can do, I guess," Michelle sighed. "I will support you, Fufu. I am the shadow of your heart. To think I will be stronger. Maybe you have a stronger, darker side in your heart." "A shadow, that's true. But who said that darkness is bad while the light is good?" Michelle closed her eyes with a smile. "Heh heh heh." The dark Michelle smirked before waving her hand, shouting, "I and Michelle love you, Kai. Stop, can't you just do it already?" Michelle rebuked her with a tinge red on her cheeks. To think she would say something this embarrassing in front of this many people, and on this occasion, Kai chuckled and waved his hand. He answered with a gentle smile. "I know. Can you finish the wildebeest for me?" The dark Michelle cracked her hands as she smirked. "Of course, it will be over in an instant." Michelle tried to calm her heart down while jumping off the barrier and placing her hand on the ground. Shadow possession. Shadow avatar. The dark Michelle smiled and leaped to the air as she retracted her sword. "If I can't cut you with a small weapon, then I just need to increase its size." Michelle summoned the magic circle as a dark stripe popped out of her back, moving toward the dark Michelle's back. Suddenly, 4 giant scythes came out of the dark Michelle's back. Each scythe looked sharp and big enough to cut the wildebeest's giant neck. "Now, let's the hunt begin." The lightning spread around, striking the dark Michelle from all directions. On the contrary, dark Michelle simply floated in the air, using the scythe that seemed to be capable of flying. When she calculated all the lightning around her, she used the other 3 scythes to cut them down in the order of the closest range. Puny lightning. Even if the lightning can brighten the night, It can't replace the darkness. Know your place, beast. Dark Michelle looked down on the wildebeest and sent 2 scythes to both horns. It quickly charged the lightning again to blast the scythe, but it was when Dark Michelle released the 3rd scythe. The scythe pierced the lightning bolt, destroying it in an instant. However, the scythe also got obliterated by the explosion coming from the clash. Luckily, the other 2 scythes managed to cut both horns raw. The wildebeest was angered and stomped its foot on the ground, creating a tremor followed by lightning to the surroundings. No, you won't break this barrier anymore. Dunn appeared and stopped the lightning that came toward the soldiers while letting the rest hit the magical beasts. This movement was so big that even allowed Dark Michelle to slip past its defense and floated next to its giant body. You can't hit me with all that lightning. Dark Michelle smirked while raising her hand toward the beast as the 2 scythes cut the body. Still, the hardness from the beast's skin was extraordinary. Despite cutting it with her full power, she couldn't fully penetrate its defense. You are hard, but every living being will have a weakness. I will just find it now, Dark Michelle said while flying around the beasts while cutting it. As expected, it was hard to find it until 2 minutes later. She coincidentally cut the head area where she found the perfect place to slash. It was the neck. Noticing that Michelle would kill him, the wildebeest glared at the real one. If it could kill the real one, the one that attacked him all this time would surely disappear. It released another lightning bolt as lightning struck forth, heading straight to Michelle. Oi, oi. Dunn's sweat dropped and planned to help her. But Michelle's face remained calm as she summoned 10 black walls from the ground. Each grew in size. The lightning broke the wall one by one, stopping only after reaching the 6th wall. This was Michelle's new manipulation. After reaching the perfect manipulation, she could reinforce her shadow, which significantly boosted her strength. In fact, Michelle might be the strongest one among the girls right now. Oh, this cute little beast has yet to understand what it means to fight against us. The Dark Michelle smiled. Let me tell you something. The string behind our back is connecting us directly. This kind, cute side of me reads your movement, and the beautiful, strong side acts on that. And the speed of our mental link and transfer is less than 0. So 1 second because we are one. The Dark Michelle smiled, and next to the wildebeest, the 3 scythes turned into a guillotine that could go up and down. The last scythe was used as the blade from above. Meanwhile, Michelle appeared on the lower part as she swung both her swords, using the 2 pillars that supported the guillotine as a foundation for her shadow slash. Executioner. The scythe cut the beast's neck from above, while the 2 shadow slashes cut it from below. The beast had no chance to endure it with its current condition. Foo-foo, because we are one. The Dark Michelle chuckled as she landed on the ground. You talk too much, Michelle harumphed. She recalled what happened 2 months ago. Inside her room, she was still struggling to perfect her own shadow. After all, her current shadow state was just like Michelle and her shadow. If she could perfect this, she could proudly claim that they were 2 Michelles. The reason why she was on the floor, gasping for air, was due to the unpleasant feeling in her heart that wrenched her heart. Suddenly, she felt a movement on her heart as a shadow manifested before her, shape-shifting into her. This is a body. As if a voice crying out from the darkness of despair, the shadow held a few similarities to that of the real one. First, it will be the feeling of her family. There were only fun memories inside the family, because they never forced her to do anything or turned her into a political marriage tool. The second one, the most important one, Kai. It was when she realized that the shadow was the same as her. Though they were the same, the Dark Michelle kept all the unpleasant things she had buried all this time. Even though it wasn't madness or anything, she carried it all. Michelle couldn't contain her smile when recalling that. Thank you for your help. Hehehehe. I am good, right? The Dark Michelle raised 2 fingers while making a big smile. Yeah. Albeit you talk too much. Promise me I get a date with Kai and let me control the body sometimes. Got it. They were connected. Just like the Dark Michelle could understand what she was thinking, she could understand her feelings. Confronted by such a genuine feeling, she had no choice but to agree. Yes, this girl is not evil, just tactless. She thought. The Dark Michelle heard it as well and complained out loud. And I'll have sex with Kai, you. Don't you try anything funny. And what the heck are you saying in front of these many people? Fine. The dark Michelle released its own power to return to Michelle's body. I will let things with him go with the flow, because I am you. Fufu, there are still more than 50 years. Just go back. Michelle was stressed by her before letting out a long sigh. This is why I hate students. Brad roared as he pierced the torrential wind from the falcon. He gripped the spear as tight as possible, because it would get blown away, meaning that he lost, so despite the bleeding on his palm, he kept piercing the wind. Until he broke through. Unfortunately, he lost his spear during the exchange, but it didn't stop him from attacking the falcon. He punched the falcon right on its face before bringing it down to the ground with him. The falcon retaliated by flapping its wings a few times, but none of it mattered to Brad, even though his body got injured by all the wind. He kept doing it until he pinned the falcon on the ground. This is over, you bastard. Brad snorted as he summoned a magic circle beneath the falcon's body. Ice Gungnir. A few spear-shaped ice spikes appeared and pierced the falcon, killing it in an instant. Brad took a deep breath after confirming the falcon's death. You won't be able to kill me in one-on-one battle. Chapter 39:3. Done so. You both have finally finished your battle. Kai let out a sigh. When they looked at him, it turned out that he already fought against the normal magical beasts. As for the monkey, it had been dismembered by Kai 2 minutes ago. It wasn't a fight because the wind from the monkey would get split either by his vibration sword or the sonic boom produced by it. When they saw it, they quickly helped him fight the beasts. However, Kai sent his command before they charged forward. All troops, retreat. Without the 3 beasts, we won't be defeated. The soldiers already heard about him getting full command of the army, so they quickly followed his orders. Even Brad followed the army, returning to their original positions. As soon as he arrived at the base, his assistant came to him and handed him a paper. Sir, this is the direct order from Mr. President. Brad took it and skimmed it before giving back the document to his assistant. The soldiers there were staring at him. Brad was known as a prideful guy that kept bad-mouthing Kai. Of course, he had the skill to back his claim. The people wanted to see whether Brad would give the command to him or not. Dunn, who was his friend for a long time, closed his eyes while thinking, "What are you going to do, my friend? Are you going to be adamant about it?" As far as ability is concerned, I have no complaint with Kai Carter leading the army, but the problem is, will you give the command to him? Depending on your choice, there might be a potential of you being in the military court. Brad looked down and turned around. The people around there gulped down as they couldn't help but see his darkened expression. However, Kai only stood in front of him without saying anything. His face turned serious while waiting for Brad's action. They couldn't waste too much time in this, so he hoped that Brad could choose already, albeit when he checked his heartbeat, he seemed to have already made the decision. Suddenly, Brad raised his hand before giving Kai a salute. Brad Matthew is reporting to the Supreme Commander of Yukon Territory Base. The people widened their eyes as they couldn't believe what they just heard. On the contrary, there was no insult or mockery in Kai's eyes. He simply saluted back. Commander Brad, I would like to know about the original plan for the entire battle. We will talk about it inside the tent. Kai nodded and started walking. Brad surprisingly turned around, walked beside him, and began explaining the whole situation, leaving all people speechless. We have. Seriously, Dunn couldn't help but facepalm. My friend, that hard-headed Brad Matthew did that. Did I see it wrong? No, you are not wrong. Michelle shook her head. Suddenly, Kai returned outside the tent and narrowed his eyes. All of you, get to work already. Kai's intimidation alone was already enough to make them scram, but they also saw Brad's scary face above his head as they quickly escaped from the situation. Kai had an understanding of Brad in this battle. Although he was a prideful one, he seemed to have the backstory to shape his current personality. Still, the heart to protect the people that relied on him was real. For that, there was no more friction between Brad and Kai anymore. In fact, he could somehow understand why Brad was especially harsh toward his own son. It wasn't that he hated his own son, he just simply loved him so much that he didn't want him to participate on a battlefield and try to force him to stay in the base. It was just like a father not wanting his son to walk in this bloody path. But the son also had his own reason. He kept trying no matter how hard it was to show Matthew that he could do it. The father and son really had something in common. They both are stubborn. At the same time, Brad also knew that Kai's ability was already above him. However, his pride never let him lower himself to match Kai's rank. The direct order let him do that without suffering of his own pride. The two began their talk about the plan of the whole operation, where Kai informed him about the reinforcement and other things. Meanwhile, Dunn and Michelle stared at each other. Dunn scratched the back of his head while having a troubled expression. "So, you must be Dunn." Michelle narrowed her eyes, mysteriously prying open his identity. "Sister, please don't stare at me like that. You already have a husband," Dunn joked around. "If I am not wrong, your real identity should be." "Sister, I know I am wrong, but please don't bully me. If you don't talk seriously, I will be reporting your identity to Kai. I only want to know a few things." Michelle was fuming in anger. All right, you win. What do you want to know? What do you want in this base? You are not supposed to be here." "What do you mean, I am not supposed to be here?" "Look, I want to help Brad since he is my friend." Michelle didn't buy it and kept staring at him. "Fine, I will tell you, all right." Dunn pinched the bridge of his nose while letting out a long sigh. "It's family's order. I've been asked by my brother to see your guy's ability." "For what?" "He doesn't tell me." From the way he looked, it didn't appear he had a bad intention, but who knows? "Really, not a bad intention," Michelle snorted. "He is one of the S-rank magicians, specialized in barrier magic. His commanding ability is at the same level as Ethan, who is known as the guardian deity. However, he is someone that no one can understand his real intention. And you expect me to believe that he doesn't have a bad intention? I know what you are worried about, but I also don't know." Dunn sighed. "Even though I just want to enjoy my life. Ugh, I hate working." Michelle narrowed her eyes. "We will see. But you should know that my Graham family won't stand by if you try anything funny." I know. Rather than worrying about my brother, shouldn't you worry about the other guy, the last S-rank magician in this base?" Michelle closed her eyes for a few seconds, falling into deep thought. "I will stop for today, but you should know that I will still report your participation to Professor Rhea Ross. I have read the report of our officers here, and I thought it was a different person. It can't be helped. My name is uncommon in this base." He shrugged. "Since this matter is settled, I will stop bothering you. Just make sure that you are not doing anything crazy because, trust me, I can do something crazier." Michelle snorted. Yes, Shadow Queen." Dunn nonchalantly brushed the matter off. Michelle turned around and sighed. Kai, on the other hand, had a serious expression. He heard their conversation earlier, and never expected that there was someone related to one of the S-rank magicians in this country. Michelle told him that there are 5 S-rank magicians, including his sister. He had met the other 2, Michelle and Sebastian. Dunn's brother seemed to be the 4th one, while his teacher also warned him about the 5th S-rank magician. Unlike the other 4, this one had a problematic behavior, thus forcing him to serve as the commander in Quebec. As for Dunn's brother, who was known as Barrier Keeper, he was an amazing man outside. The masses loved him for his achievement and other things. However, if they were asked who they wanted to fight among the S-rank magicians, he would be the last one to be picked. No one could understand his true thoughts. Kai sighed and thought, "I'm going to lead this base for 3 months anyway. I will use that chance to get stronger while relaxing in the new environment." "Yeah, let's do that. So, what do you think about it?" Brad asked after finishing his explanation. "I don't have a problem. With the first 2 reinforcement numbering 100,000 soldiers, we shall give 40,000 to the 1st and 5th Army, while the remaining 20,000 will be sent here." "What do you think?" Kai asked, hinting at him about his plan. Brad was supposed to be enraged if he followed his usual behavior, but Brad turned out to be not that reckless. After getting the hint, he thought about it for a while and asked, "I can understand the gist of your plan. Still, can you elaborate your plan?" Kai smiled and put down 5 sticks on the table. "I am planning for a sweep by using the reinforcement. No one other than the officers know about their real number, so I want to swipe everything to the left to show that we have enough soldiers to even do that. This will lead to an explosion of morale." "So, you want me to lead people to the right?" "Yes. It's true that when they receive the reinforcement, they will normally think that we are in an emergency situation. However, if we follow your plan, the 2 armies next to us will think that we have enough spare soldiers to do something like this. As for those furthest armies to the left and right, They will believe that the earlier reinforcement came from this central army. It will raise their morale. Yes, that's my plan. Because I leave my army there, I will need to show up. As for the right, you are the right person to do that. So, what do you think, Commander Brad? Brad furrowed his eyebrows and nodded. Aye, Brad Matthew, promise you that nothing will go wrong. Kai smiled and nodded back. That's more like it. Chapter 394. Rain. Let's go. We destroy the magical beasts right now, Kai shouted out loud. As he predicted, the reinforcement from 2 bases arrived. After getting their order, they split into 4. The first 2 were to become a wall in their left and right armies, while the other 2 would follow Kai and Brad. They were a bit surprised to see Kai Carter in front, but luckily, most of the soldiers came from British Columbia. There were many soldiers that saw Kai's gallant appearance during an emergency mission a year ago, so they willingly followed him. In fact, their morale was the highest among the other soldiers. They waited for a while until the first 2 groups could arrive at the furthest position. It took him 15 minutes before he got information that everything had been set up. Brad also led his army. They were currently standing side by side until that one shout from Kai, "Ooh!" The soldiers responded to him as they ran forward. Kai and Brad sped up as both of them arrived in front of the magical beast rank a few seconds before the army could hit. These 2 wanted to set the example of what they should do. The moment they struck the first bet, it quickly became 2-4, and before long, they had wreaked havoc on the enemy line. The soldiers who originated from the center army quickly opened the way so these 2 armies could come out to strike their objectives. Not knowing why, they found Kai and Brad looked very assuring. Just by watching their back, they could fight against so many beasts. The clash escalated into one big fight until they penetrated deep enough. Kai glanced at Brad and said, "Then, Commander, I will leave the right side to you." Brad paused for a moment and turned around while saying, "Good luck to you." Kai smiled when he heard it. He shouted, "Now change direction. Follow the one in front of you and make sure you are not left behind." Michelle arrived beside him to help, but Kai sped up a bit more while gradually making his way toward the left. The soldiers followed him without any complaint. Finally, these 2 armies went in the opposite directions of each other, cutting down so many magical beasts and creating a gap between their rank. This allowed the other soldiers to take advantage of it, to rest or bring the wounded back. Kai and the soldiers kept charging ahead as long as Kai was in the very front. Michelle knew that he shouldn't joke around or something, so she chose to stay hidden while supporting him from behind, so as to not affect the army's morale. After around 10 minutes, the soldiers from his army found Kai, bringing another army with him. That's the commander, Commander Kai. The morale surprisingly rose just by seeing him return. Kai killed a giant beast and leaped on top of it while shouting, "Where is my vanguard army?" Most of them looked around as if they got cold. "Come down here right now, we will sweep them in a more brutal way." Oh, haha, it's time for me to join then," Yuki shouted and leaped to the ground. "Those who don't want to get left behind should come down right now. We will break through the enemy rank and follow the commander." "Ooh," the soldiers roared as they quickly followed Yuki's footsteps, breaking the enemy formation just to regroup with Kai. At the same time, Kai kept killing the enemies but decreasing his pace, allowing his own army to catch up. When they regrouped, he shouted another command, "Continue like this for 2 hours." "Yes, sir." Before going, Kai pointed at Isabel while saying something that only she could see with her eagle eyes. "Use the air support if the situation goes wrong." Isabel smiled and muttered, "Leave it to me. Nothing won't go wrong." Kai smiled and began rampaging in the battlefield as he made his way to the furthest left. He didn't count it, but he believed that his group already killed 10,000 beasts in 30 minutes. However, they also started getting exhausted after so much fighting in the first place. Just like he predicted, the army managed to penetrate the enemy rank until the end of their line. The 40,000 reinforcement quickly made their positions, forming the wall. With how they positioned themselves, the magical beasts would get pinched by the army Kai's brought and the original army on this battlefield. They were quickly wiped out since they only had one escape route, which was toward the middle army where Dunn stayed. Kai quickly turned around and led the second charge to wipe all of them while returning to the headquarters, not forgetting to ask his vanguard team to return. As soon as he came back, he found Brad Matthew not long after he arrived. Good work. Let's retreat and have the soldiers rest. We shall do it again after 1 hour. Kai nodded. All right. Brad nodded back and followed him to the tent, where they discussed the plan. The officers with them managed the soldiers and let them rest. They did this strategy a few times. All of their kills combined numbered up to 1 million, and the sun was almost set. So Kai wanted to get another plan to hold the magical beasts during the night, since he couldn't provide every single soldier a night vision. Brad agreed and offered a few suggestions. Suddenly, Kai looked up as if he heard something. They have come. Let's use them to defend the night, the reinforcement. Brad narrowed his eyes. Yes, let's change a plan then. Kai slammed the table as the reinforcement completely changed the direction of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Dunn laughed when looking at the trucks bringing the soldiers. Haha, reinforcement comes. The reinforcement was 100,000 strong, according to the information. In other words, they would have no problem withstanding 3 to 4 million magical beasts as long as they kept fighting with this type of warfare. However, he froze when he saw someone standing on top of the first truck. He fell on his butt while pointing his finger toward the leader. You. Why are you here, brother? A direct order from the president. So I'm here though. I don't really mind since I have someone that I want to see. He leaped to Dunn and smiled. Dunn's brother was also a middle-aged man, but unlike Dunn's messy and uncaring appearance, he tied his shoulder-length hair neatly and acted like a gentleman. He turned around and found Kai Carter walking toward him. Nice to meet you, Kai Carter. I am one of the S-rank magicians in this base, Rain. He gracefully nodded, but his eyes were observing Kai's expression to see what kind of man Kai Carter really is. Kai nodded. I am Kai Carter. It's my pleasure to meet you, General Rain. May I know what the order is? It's nothing much, but there is a possibility of, I think I don't need to say it, right? He smiled playfully. Kai's expression darkened as he sighed. It seems there is no other possibility. The fact that the magical beasts are evolving at this rate, someone must have done all this. And there is one suspect that I think all of you know. Rain smiled and said while narrowing his eyes, the Protector's so-called princess, the mermaid. The group's expressions turned serious. I have been expecting them, but I don't know whether they will come out or not. I think they will come out. After listening to the battle progress, I believe that if they want to strike, it's better to do it now. No, I think they will do it either tomorrow or the day after. We would have exhausted ourselves during that time. Kai looked down, falling into deep thought. Michelle said that Rain's strategy was like Ethan's, so he must have said it for a reason. In that case, we need a change of plan. I do agree. Your current strategy allows you to handle the monsters quickly, but I have observed something weird. Would you mind sharing it with me? No, maybe we should enter the tent first. There's nothing big, I can say it here. One weird thing is the number of flying beasts. Don't you think they are low in number? Kai instantly realized what he was trying to say. I see. There will be a second wave. How many do you think will come? Rain asked. It's not going to be much. My prediction is around 200,000 to 300,000. It's nothing compared to the current number, but we will be devastated if they come with protectors. Kai nodded. As expected from Commander Kai, I am impressed by your intelligence despite being a second-year student. He smiled. For now, change the plan for attrition warfare. Chip down the enemy number while we are preserving our own. Kai waved his hands, telling the other officers to quickly inform the other armies. Meanwhile, Rain didn't leave him alone and asked, how about formulating the plan in the tent right now? Before that, I want you to answer one question first. Please tell me. Rain smiled. Kai's face turned serious as he narrowed his eyes, staring at Rain. What is the direct order from the president? Rain's smile became even bigger as he had the same serious expression as Kai. The others gulped down, not knowing how these two men could create this kind of pressure just by asking each other. If they were opponents from different sides, they would have clashed already, destroying this place. However, they were the people from the same side, so it was up to Rain to decide the outcome of this battle. No one knew about the direct order at the moment, so Rain could lie, and no one would know about it until later. However, no one could read his thoughts. That's why Kai wanted to make the matter clear first, especially since the other party was a 4-star general. Suddenly, Rain straightened his pose and saluted. Rain Stuix is reporting to Commander Kai Carter. I shall assist you in this battle as your deputy alongside Commander Brad Matthew. I will follow your every order, Commander. Even with him lowering his status, he still generated the same pressure. Yes, I will be counting on you. Kai calmly turned around and walked back to the tent. For now, arrange the reinforcement to the ideal condition, Commander Rain. I am sure that this is your forte, right? Rain's body shook as he never thought that Kai would actually attack him like this. It was true that his ability was similar to Ethan in this area, but him leaving it like this put more pressure on his shoulders because his image would get smeared if he couldn't do this perfectly. I understand, Commander Kai. I shall do my best to not disappoint you. Instead of getting angered by Kai's attitude, he clenched his fist excitedly while thinking, "This kid-eye's interesting." Chapter 395. Protectors. The next day, Kai didn't make any big move because he had adjusted his plan according to the information Rain brought. Of course, he helped him in the process, since it was a precious experience to listen to one of the big names in the military. Kai ultimately extended the battle from 3 days to 2 weeks, because he felt that the protectors would appear within that time, depending on the condition of his soldiers. So, what are we going to do, Commander? Rain gradually walked to Kai, who was watching the army fighting. Kai waited for him first until he reached a certain distance and used his sound insulation magic. What is this? Rain took a step back, dumbfoundedly staring at the barrier Kai erected. It was a different kind of barrier that he used to make, so he wanted to know what it was. This is my sound insulation magic. No one can hear us. Kai nodded as he pointed at the surroundings. No sound can come inside either. I see, but I am still perplexed as to your reason for doing this. Rain narrowed his eyes, pressuring Kai for an answer. I am just wary against our enemy. They once have a dolphin that can listen to anything in a certain radius. If the dolphin happens to be in the vicinity and listens to our plan, it's going to be problematic. After all, I don't know if he is there unless he talks or something. Kai sighed. So, does that mean you have a different plan than the one we were working for yesterday? Yes. Kai nodded. I want to see whether there is a protector or not. Today I need your help. I understand I shall help you to the best of my ability. What do you want me to do? Rain obviously had mellowed up a bit after seeing how Kai made his plan and understood his train of thoughts. Nothing. I want you to stay inside the tent without showing yourself while spouting some bullshit. Rain looked down as if he grasped a bit of his plan. You want the enemy to think that you don't let me fight or something. Are you planning to lure them out? Yes, I am going to be the bait. If I look exhausted, they will probably make a move. Kai nodded. But won't they catch our plan? I am not sure. From what I know, as long as the princess is not here, they won't be able to rival me, said Kai with confidence. Oh, Rain thought for a moment. I understand the gist of your plan. I will be your reinforcement when they come, right? Yes. I informed my team yesterday night, so they are ready to come here when they appear. Do you know how they operate? I am not sure, but I know that they won't come here alone right now. Kai narrowed his eyes. After all, they will die here. There is a possibility of 2 or even 3 protectors after this, so I want you to handle one of them for me. I haven't fought against them, so I don't know their real strength. I believe that you can stop one. My team will stop the other one while I am dealing with the other one. This is the worst-case scenario. I understand I will follow your plan. Rain nodded, thinking that this would be the best chance to see Kai's true power and compare it to his own. This also allowed him to see Ria's real strength, because he wanted to be the best magician on the base. According to his information, Ria seemed to be a bit stronger than him, so if he could overpower Kai, he had a chance against Ria Ross. Kai didn't know a thing about his motive and said, Anyway, I am going to hunt for a bit to call them here. If doing this for 3 days doesn't give any result, we will assume there are no protectors in this place. Sure thing. Rain nodded. Kai then brought his army to roam around the battlefield, killing many magical beasts as if he tried to end the battle in a few days. This would look like he was trying to exhaust himself, but Kai didn't put on too much strength and the pace was a bit slower than yesterday. In other words, Kai still preserved his stamina even in this situation. A few hours later, a flock of birds suddenly emerged from the horizon, flying straight to the army. What happened? Why would a group of flying beasts suddenly come at us? Inform Commander Kai. That's right, inform the commander. However, Kai was on the battlefield and heard them from afar. It seems that they have come. Kai narrowed his eyes and raised his hand. Everyone, retreat right now. What? The soldiers were baffled because they never expected to hear that kind of order from Kai Carter. However, the officers quickly believed in him and helped the retreat process, making the others follow. Kai then used his sound levitation, floating in the air as he stared at the horizon. When Rain noticed the change, he came out of the tent and headed straight next to him. Have Commander Brad Matthew direct the rest of the soldiers. I have told him. Rain nodded with a serious expression. You should wait. I'm going to end this as soon as possible, said Kai while pointing at his right. Rain understood that there was a protector coming from that way. You handle the second one until I can kill the first one. Okay, Roger. What Kai said and what he did was completely different, but Rain understood that the fact that the enemies coming here at this time meant they knew the condition of the battlefield. They either had a dolphin that informed them about the current situation, or they were watching from afar. Kai's hearing range, so the latter was not possible. With this situation, Kai acted as if he didn't know about the third protector. He then raised his hands with 3 hands pointing upward. Isabel and the others already arrived. The moment she got the signal, Isabel conveyed the signal to the others without speaking to make sure that the enemies didn't know anything. Kai then closed his eyes and waited for them to arrive. After 5 minutes, he opened his eyes as 2 creatures came to his vision. The left one was a starfish, walking on his 2 feet and holding a shield and a sword. It certainly had this weird aura, especially when looking at the starfish that was covered with black metallic color. Kai wasn't sure about this, but it felt like the metallic color was the fish covering himself with steel. His skin would probably become one of the hardest he had faced so far. So he hoped that his sonic sword was enough to handle it alone. If not, he needed to resort to another thing. Either way, what he focused on was the second one. It was the same turtle as the one he met during the previous war. Its defensive power wasn't a joke. He didn't know whether Rain had enough strength to rival him in terms of defense, but Rain would surely fight the one coming from the right, leaving the turtle to the girls and the others. Still, fighting against a defensive turtle was better than fighting the starfish, so he chose to believe in them, hoping they could buy enough time until he killed the starfish. I have never thought that you were going to come here. Kai narrowed his eyes, glaring at the turtle. We have met again. The turtle nodded. I am just helping these 2 youngsters to wreak havoc on your base. That's all. As long as I am here, you can't do that. Kai shook his head. Anyway, I am afraid that you 3 are to forfeit your lives here. That's a big tone, don't you think? The turtle smirked while narrowing his eyes. I am aware, but it's not like I was lazing around this whole time. What are you planning for suicide bombers again? Ahaha. That's just a small trick from the princess, nothing else. She was frustrated because you killed her little pet. Pet, huh? Either way, my mission remains the same. Commander. Why don't we just beat these guys up? Rain nonchalantly said while looking down at them. You are not qualified to talk, young man. The turtle raised his hand and gently pushed forward, creating a small barrier that was going to blow him away. Surprisingly, another barrier appeared out of thin air, stopping the turtle's barrier. Ho! The turtle narrowed his eyes. Since you want it this way, we both are going to destroy you now. Suddenly, a blue light flew from their right, like that of a bullet. Commander. The soldiers who happened to see it roared, trying to warn him. Unfortunately, the blue light hit him first, exploding and producing a cloud of smoke that covered up Kai and Rain for a while. Oops, not both of us, but the 3 of us. My old age has made me a bit forgetful, you see. The turtle smirked. Hehe, seems he is right. Rain smirked as the smoke cleared up, showing him and his barrier still intact. He narrowed his eyes, trying to see who attacked him earlier. However, it turned out that the other party was so big that he only needed to raise his head a bit to see it. A red-colored 10-foot octopus slowly marched its way toward Rain. It seemed that it just released the attack from its mouth, so Rain marked it as one of the threats that might kill him. I have been waiting for you, idiot octopus, Rain smirked as he raised his hands, summoning the translucent barriers. Chapter 396, Fighting the Protectors. The octopus halted its step and stared at Rain, realizing that Kai had anticipated this. He turned to the turtle and nodded his head. We shall eliminate them here. Try it, octopus, Rain shouted as the summoned barriers earlier closed in their distance, recreating the same move as the turtle. He planned to crush that barrier to make it feel like he got punched. The octopus raised its 8 feet and slammed all the incoming barriers like nothing. Rain was quite surprised, because this was the first time he saw his barrier break in an instant. Normally, people would need to attack it 2 or 3 times, but the octopus seemed to be stronger than he expected. No wonder people like Nathan or even Rhea Ross had trouble with them. The octopus released another bolt of light from its mouth, but Rain's reaction was faster than previously, blocking the attack before it could reach anywhere. In fact, they were in the middle of magical beasts, so no soldiers would be harmed. He stood on his barrier, several meters above the ground, and smiled. I will be having a fun time with you, idiotic octopus. Meanwhile, Michelle already brought the group and faced the turtle. She even had summoned her dark version Ho. It seems that you have grown so much during the past few months. The turtle narrowed his eyes before summoning a giant shield, pushing it toward them. It's to defeat the likes of you. Dark Michelle didn't hold back her words while summoning her swords. However, Michelle had a different opinion after watching how strong this person was during the previous battle. She linked up with Dark Michelle as the latter summoned her scythes. These scythes will cut you down. Dark Michelle smiled as 2 of them struck the barrier while the rest pierced the ground as her supporting strength to stop the barrier. Surprisingly, she managed to do it. Michelle took this advantage to move around him and slashed her sword, Shadow Slash. The turtle fell silent and created a barrier to block the incoming attack. It was where Ayaka and Sophia appeared, both pointing their palm toward him. Scarlet Explosion. Ice Spear. The turtle used his barrier to force Ayaka to create the magic circle not beneath him like the way she wanted to, but on his barrier. At the same time, a barrier emerged from the ground. Sophia's ice spear was big. The length alone was longer than the octopus's height. With the weight behind the spear, it should be enough to injure him, but the turtle was far better than she expected. The emerging barrier pierced the spear perfectly in the middle and broke it. Isabel and Tasha furrowed their eyebrows, wondering how they could penetrate that barrier. Although they didn't want to admit it, the power of the barrier was far stronger than they expected. They believed that it was impenetrable by their current strength. What should we do, Tasha? Isabel asked. Stick to the plan. Tasha nodded with a serious expression. Fair enough, I will improvise after that. Isabel took out another sniper rifle, planning to strike the barrier with both weapons. Can you time it with my arrow? I am not sure. I need to keep adjusting it for a few hours before we can find anything you don't mind. The number 1 sniper needs a few hours. Are you serious? Tasha smirked, taunting her. Of course it is for the worst case scenario. My best prediction is 30 minutes, but we will be draining our magic power. You don't mind that? If it's only 30 minutes to 60 minutes, my magic power is far more than enough. Tasha nodded. I will start moving in case our attacks are not effective. Roger. Isabel nodded and adjusted her scope. What is the target? Let's go with the head. From our distance, we simply need to adjust the aim a bit. The rest will depend on the timing. Tasha drew her arrow, preparing to release the first shoot. First one. My arrow will reach the target in 1-2 seconds. You go with 1-1 or 1-0 seconds. Okay, now. Tasha released her arrow before Isabel shot in succession. 1 arrow and 2 bullets flew in succession. As one would expect, the arrow and bullets had a different trajectory, even though it looked like they would hit the same place, striking the barrier that was stopped by. Dark Michelle. We will keep trying. Sure. When the turtle saw this, he summoned a few more barriers to attack Dark Michelle so he could push his barrier again, but 4 figures suddenly appeared, destroying the smaller barriers and protecting Dark Michelle. They were Tommy, Nicholas, Eve, and Eva. Gee, the turtle clicked his tongue, noticing that it wouldn't be that easy to break past them. It was like the S-rank spider facing Kai and the other elites to buy time for Rhea Ross. In that case, he needed something more special. What should I do? Said him while narrowing his eyes. Meanwhile, Kai had an intense clash with the starfish. He kept smashing the shield with his sonic sword, but to no avail. The shield was made of the hardest material they could find, so it was impossible for Kai to destroy it. On the contrary, the sword was a bit worse than he expected. During the clash, the starfish kept deflecting Kai's attacks as if he didn't want to have both swords clashed. Noticing this pattern, Kai took a deep breath and stopped attacking. Why are you attacking us by bringing this horde? It's for Earth. As long as humanity perishes, we won't need to face other danger anymore. Kai narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? I am sure that you already know it. You, humans, keep hunting us down while destroying the environment. If we wait for another 10 years, the Earth won't be a place for living anymore. Rather than having such a race in this place, it's better to remove them, no matter the consequences. You know what? There is no good if you can't find something bad. You can't say you are living a better life when you don't know what a bad life is. It's a part of the natural cycle. Kai shook his head helplessly. I do admit that humans bring bad things, but if there is no human, it will be someone else. You think we are the same to the likes of you? Do you consider yourself a crocodile? Definitely not, right? Kai shrugged. You. The starfish gritted his teeth and jumped forward. I will kill you right here and right now, so no one can hinder our plan. Ho! A plan, eh? Kai narrowed his eyes. He was sure that it was just a slip of the tongue, but knowing that they had a hidden plan was good, because they could prepare for anything that would come to them. The starfish fell silent, as if realizing a slip of the tongue. What? You are not talking right now. Kai taunted him to get more information, but the latter had raised his guard, making sure that he didn't give any valuable information. The starfish couldn't handle Kai anymore and released its power, striking him with a powerful strike. Kai furrowed his eyebrows, noticing the weight of the strike, and used his sound blast to counter it. Bang! The clashing sound was surely one of the loudest they had today. At the same time, that attack released a powerful shockwave, not only from Kai's sonic boom, but also from the starfish's. You! Kai smiled and used his sound blast to launch him to the side before bouncing back using the same sound blast but from another direction. The starfish managed to react again by swinging both sword and shield. It was tough to follow Kai's random movement, but as one would expect from a protector, he didn't go down easily. Kai got some hits every now and then, but it only gave him a small crack, not more than that. The starfish's metal skin was really hard. Why are you defending this whole time? Are you sure you can defeat me like this? You are not like that turtle after all. Kai laughed. You. The starfish didn't mind if Kai insulted him alone, but when he heard him mixing the old turtle in it, he became enraged, planning to chop Kai into two. What, you want to kill me? I am not that easy. Kai snorted and struck the shield with both swords, finally pushing him back. The moment he realized it, the starfish adjusted his balance to stop Kai's momentum. He couldn't afford to make Kai gain more confidence. On the other hand, Kai was smiling brightly. That alone managed to rile up the starfish, but more importantly, he already had another plan for this battle. Suddenly, just like how the octopus sent the first attack, Michelle also sent a support attack to Kai Arthur. The turtle shouted, but he was too late. Michelle's shadow slash could go over his shield, so even if he wanted to block it, he couldn't. The starfish realized it and jumped backward, but Kai used his sound blast behind the starfish's back, launching him back so Michelle's shadow slash could hit him. You. The starfish quickly rotated in midair, planning to stop the attack with his shield. Kai destroyed his plan once again by sending a kick to push the shield away while stopping the sword with his own sword. Due to the sonic boom, he managed to even push him closer to the shadow slash stet. The starfish cursed as he took the hit boom. Chapter 397. Teamwork Boom. The starfish was launched to the side from that explosion, giving Kai an opportunity to strike him a couple of times, AK. The starfish clenched his teeth and saw that there were two spots that began bleeding. Despite the protection from his hard skin, Kai seemed to have attacked him enough, especially with his aims. He kept attacking the same area continuously, even though the starfish had no problem in taking it. Yes, Kai had been an advantage this whole time. It's too shallow. Kai turned around and planned to hit a few more times, but the starfish already recovered and blocked all the hits. Kai didn't give up and kept pinning him down on the ground with relentless attacks until he felt something was wrong. A bullet suddenly hit the starfish's hand, allowing Kai to deliver a few blows. Kai widened his eyes, never expecting that Isabel would help him. He indeed heard her shooting, and the bullets weren't flying to the turtle. It turned out that she shot between the turtle and the starfish before the two bullets hit each other, bouncing off to two opposite directions. The first one hit the turtle's barrier, making him miss the second bullet. As for Kai, it was the best support he could get. This is enough. The starfish was angered before the dirt around them emerged from the ground, trying to pierce Kai. With his ears, he had heard the movement first and jumped backward, looking at the starfish with a serious expression. I have underestimated you, but this time I won't. My name is Surta. Make sure to etch this name into your memory, because it's the name of the man who will kill you. Humph, Kai snorted. Do you think you are qualified? Surta quickly leaped forward. He struck the ground with his shield as the dirt spiked all around Kai. However, Kai wasn't scared of this attack. He simply struck the spikes with his supersonic sword, where the rest was handled by the sonic boom. Kai had no problem destroying the spikes and headed straight toward the starfish, planning to cut him again. The starfish charged with his shield on the front, pushing Kai back. Sound blast. A green magic circle appeared beside them as it blew them several meters away, stopping the charge. He then used another sound blast to launch himself to the starfish and struck the sword with both hands. Due to his shield getting blasted by the momentum, he shouldn't have the power to stop his attack. But surprisingly, the starfish's hand turned into metal before summoning the rocks underground to come to the surface. The rock covered his hand as he caught Kai's sonic sword. To his surprise, the rock was harder than his sonic sword, baffling him. Even so, he didn't give up and ended up trading a few more times, but to no avail. I have only fought with your type of weapons recently just to test you. Since you have angered me, I should start getting serious now. Surta clenched his teeth while covering his body with the stones that happened to be harder than his body, even though it was just a regular stone from the ground. Kai furrowed his eyebrows and took a deep breath. This is going to be a troublesome opponent. Surta jumped forward and threw a punch, only to meet Kai's sonic sword. However, the result remained the same. Kai lost and got pushed back. Before Surta managed to pin him on the ground, Kai's sound blast already helped him escape. He then retreated a few steps and muttered, "Even with my current strength and exoskeleton, I am still not a match against the protectors. What should I do now? There are 3 protectors coming here, so we really need to do something as soon as possible. However, I can't see it. Out of my way." Bang! Kai and Surta turned around. He knew that someone was coming, but they never expected that someone really breached the magical beasts to help Kai. And someone who dared to be this daring was none other than Brad Matthew. He had been sitting in the back this whole time, but had gotten bored and chose to wreak havoc on the very front. When he saw Kai having trouble, he thought this would be the best time to show that he wasn't a pushover. The starfish quickly raised his hands to stop the spear on Brad's hand, but Brad made an unexpected movement by placing his hand on the ground. 2 magic circles appeared, one below his hand, and the other one was above Surta. I summon meteorite. Brad smirked. As soon as he poured enough magic power into it, a huge chunk of ice emerged from the magic circle, falling down. "Take this, you monster." Brad thought that if the rock was hard, he just needed to handle him with his weight. There was no way that this starfish could stop a big rock like this. Surta looked up and absorbed more and more stones from his surroundings before he formed a support pillar for his arms to stop the icebound. The shockwave of stopping more than a ton of ice block shook the entire battlefield, blowing the magical beasts near them. "Do you think I can't hold this? Let me show you what will happen if I use your own ice cube to destroy your army." Surta smirked as he planned to throw the ice forward. Suddenly, Kai's voice resounded in his ears. His tone was cold, as if a death reaper just passed him. Surta widened his eyes and glanced, knowing it was too late. Kai used the split second he focused on Brad to slash him a few times, destroying his armor and grazing his body. The wound was deeper this time, so his strength should get lower after this. Surta spat a mouthful of blood before the ice crushed him on the ground. A perfect timing indeed, as expected from a 3-star general. Kai smirked and looked at Brad's face. "So, where is my thank you?" Brad rolled his eyes. "When you truly helped me in defeating him." "Okay," Kai smiled before seeing how cracks began to appear on the ice surface before it was getting obliterated by Surta. It shattered into thousands of pieces, crushing many magical beasts to death. Of course, many of them flew toward the humans, but Dun managed to react and protect them with his barrier magic. I am going to kill you, Surtur roared as he released all of his magic. I am going to show you the difference between you and me. I will crush all the humans you hold dear. Surtur. The turtle shouted his name to call him back from his anger, but the latter ignored him. The stones from the ground emerged in a volume that no one had ever seen before. Kai retreated to Brad and said, "This is going to be bad." Brad couldn't answer immediately, as he gradually raised his vision as Surtur began building his body. Scarlet explosion, Ayaka's voice echoed on the battlefield. Knowing the danger that Surtur would possess, she thought it would be her time to step up, but a barrier appeared, stopping her explosion. "Young lady, please focus on this old man." The turtle smiled and protected Surtur until he could fully function as a giant golem. However, Tasha finally acted on her own as she appeared on the battlefield, right behind Surtur. She placed her hand on the ground and created a teleportation magic circle. After seeing how the turtle couldn't help Surtur, the octopus shot out another beam of light, planning to disrupt her, but Rain managed to create the same barrier as the turtle, stopping the attack at the last second. "Where do you think you are aiming? Your opponent is me." Rain smiled and clapped his hands, summoning two giant translucent barriers to crush the octopus. Before it hit him, the octopus used all of its legs and jumped to the sky, aiming at the soldiers instead. Rain realized the blunder and planned to head back, but Dun already leaped to the air and summoned a large barrier. The octopus ended up hitting the barrier. Unfortunately, Dun's barrier was weaker than Rain's, ending up cracking before the residual shockwave blew him to the ground. The octopus didn't let this chance go away. He waved all of his legs and created 8 crescent shapes that would soon kill so many soldiers. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions were heard. Michelle was in the air together with the real one. She destroyed 4 of them with 4 sides, while the real, her cut 2. The other 2 were shot by Isabel's 2 sniper rifles. Finally, the octopus landed on the ground and made the ground vibrate for a second. Kai smiled when watching that they safely endured all those attacks, leaving Surtur as his target. What? Surtur widened his eyes as he found that Kai was about to attack him. After getting the momentum from doing all that, Kai used his sound blast to send him flying straight to Surtur's head, which was above 40 meters. He struck with both swords, even though he knew that he wouldn't leave a scratch on this body. But Kai's real aim was to throw him off balance, and it succeeded. Surtur began to fall on his back as Tasha's teleportation magic was activated. The next second, Surtur realized that he was falling from the sky, and soon would fall upon the magical beasts. The turtle obviously couldn't let him fall just like that. He created a translucent barrier with a 45 degrees angle, planning to catch Surtur and letting him slide the barrier so his big body could swipe the human soldiers. Not good. Chapter 39:8. Tasha's real power explode. Tasha's voice resounded in Kai's ears, followed by 6 explosions. Kai turned around and shouted, "Tasha, I am sorry, Kai, but I believe this is the best. As you promised earlier, right, I don't need to hide it again, right? Since I only have 2 or 3 months until graduation, I think this is the time I can finally release all my power." She smiled as the giant body was launched to the magical beasts, sweeping them to death. Kai closed his eyes for a second and sighed. "I understand. Don't worry. If necessary, I would do the craziest thing ever." "Thanks," Tasha smiled as she landed on the ground. Rain almost forgot the fact that Tasha was also one of the S-rank magicians. Even though her strength seemed to be on par with Michelle, the talk earlier made him realize that might not be the case. "I will be helping you fight the starfish." "Yeah," Kai smiled as she appeared next to him, facing the golem that was trying to get back up. Their shoulders touched, as if they leaned on each other. Tasha aimed her bow toward the giant, while Kai pointed his right sword forward. He recalled his past, and couldn't contain his smile. "It's been a long time since we last fought together. I will be counting on you. Leave it to me." Tasha smiled. Instead of jumping forward, Tasha teleported Kai to the back of the giant while she released her arrow toward the golem's head, where she believed the starfish hid. Surtur raised his hand, planning to stop the arrow with his hand, but he suddenly felt a powerful blow behind his knee. Kai smiled as he released enough strength to bend the knee, allowing Tasha's arrow to slip past the finger and hit the head. However, Surta, who saw the arrow from point-blank range, found a small marble filled with a white mist. The moment it hit the head, the marble popped out, creating a massive explosion. Gah! Surta lost his body balance again as he fell on his back due to his body's form, especially after Kai hit the back of his knee. Michelle smirked, as she might be the only one, other than Kai and the Carter family, who knew about Tasha's real magic. As the name implied, it was bona fide sealing magic. What she sealed earlier was air, compressed into a small ball. The burst air created a different type of explosion than that of Ayaka's. It didn't have a powerful fire or any other things, because it only had a shockwave that was capable of launching the giant golem into the air. On the contrary, Sophia, Ayaka, and any other people who usually came with Tasha and Kai gasped. They didn't know what her real power was, but it was indeed powerful. "Michelle, what is that?" Sophia asked as she couldn't contain her curiosity anymore. "Guess." Michelle stuck her tongue out before continuing her own battle with the turtle. Kai already arrived on top of the golem's body and struck the head again, trying to crack it. "Watch out." Tasha smiled as she landed next to him with 5 small compressed air marbles and used the teleportation magic to send both of them away from the golem, leaving the 5 marbles to explode right on the head. Boom, boom, boom. "We need to crack that stone. Elder Rapaka was similar to this guy, you know." She smiled. Do you have a plan?" Kai asked. "Yeah, I don't know if it works, but I really need your help." Kai narrowed his eyes when he heard about her plan. "How about it? Let's try it." Kai nodded in agreement as he jumped next to the golem head and snapped his finger, creating a disturbing high-pitched sound. Arg! The pain began spreading all over his body as his ears. Before he could get up, Tasha already created a few more marbles, exploding them to launch him to the air, only to land again. However, the giant body moved on the land and even almost rolled on the ground. It killed around 1,000 beasts in one fly, so Tasha's plan was to do it continuously, using him as their own weapon. After all, it wasn't like Surta could easily control the giant body. Kai smiled and snapped his finger again, harassing him from the point-blank range. Wherever Tasha sent Surta's giant body, Kai would follow, teach. The turtle clicked his tongue and planned to help Surta, but both Michelle's appeared in front of him, ready to jump ahead to stop him. With their combination, he realized that it was impossible to escape easily. He looked around, trying to find something that he could exploit to turn around the situation. He turned to the octopus and found that rain sealed him inside a box. What should I do? The turtle didn't know what to do anymore other than retreating. Their condition was in stalemate, and sooner or later, Surta would die. It would be such a big loss if that happened. Yet, all the possible plans in his head would end up sacrificing Surta. The constant harassment and Tasha's explosions really wore down his endurance. He never thought that the sound Kai produced would be that big of a deal. In fact, he planned to return to his normal form because this giant body turned out to be his greatest setback during the fight. Unfortunately, he realized that the moment he returned to his previous self, Kai and Tasha would have severely injured him first before he could do anything. Nonetheless, the result wouldn't change. Tasha and Kai kept harassing him until they got the opening they desired crack. The moment she found a small crack, Tasha leaped to the sky as her body was covered by lightning. She raised both hands and created several magic circles, turning the blue sky to dark. Thunder started ringing on everyone's ears as they couldn't believe what she just did. "Don't tell me." The turtle gritted his teeth. "She is going to call lightning. This is already beyond what a normal can do, is she?" He hesitated to complete his sentence because Kai should be the one to be the protector, not her. In other words, they must have missed something important that no one knew other than herself and Kai Carter. He raised his shield and summoned a translucent barrier in the sky, planning to stop the lightning, but Kai used the sound blast, flew to the sky, and struck the barrier with his supersonic sword. Unlike before, he changed the direction of his sonic boom to the back, allowing him to increase the penetration power in that one thrust. Still, Kai had done it a few times during the practice with Rhea Ross, and all of them ended up with him getting injured. There was one difference though. This time, Kai wore his exoskeleton, the sonic boom was shredding his clothes and grazed him here and there. But Kai was determined to destroy the barrier. He used his sound blast once again to boost his strength, until finally, a huge crack appeared on the barrier, as Kai shattered it like that of glass. He raised his vision and saw that the lightning was about to be fired. Sound blast. Using one last magic, he evacuated to make sure that he didn't get struck by lightning. Here I go. Tasha activated the magic circles, lightning god's wrath. Blue lightning struck forth, hitting the magic circles in succession. No. Surta tried to summon a roof to direct the lightning elsewhere, but Ayaka decided to interfere. Scarlet explosion. Boom. The explosion shattered all the rocks that were supposed to be his shield. No, Surta screamed as the lightning struck him. Just like natural lightning, it disappeared in an instant, unlike how it came down. The damage was also similar to how the lightning split a tree into two, and other similar videos spread all over the internet. And this time was no different. The rock was crushed by the lightning, revealing the real body of the starfish. When Kai saw that chance, he quickly went on top of the giant body and struck his chest. Suddenly, the turtle's voice resounded on the battlefield. Surta, we need to leave right now. The situation has become unfavorable to us, especially since we are on the land. Our power has been reduced by 50%, but you. The turtle didn't know how to complete his sentence. For him, it was too cruel to ask Surta to sacrifice himself. However, Surta replied without hesitation. Old man, you need to live. Since I am the useless one during this fight, I will fulfill my last duty. No. You are not useless. Your opponent is just too strong. No need to comfort me, old man. Now go. Surta's body began shining. Kai widened his eyes in surprise, knowing that he would probably do something like a suicide bomber. After all, he had experienced it back in South America. Get away from here, Kai shouted and returned to Tasha before carrying her out of the battlefield. All soldiers, retreat right now. He is doing something big. Tasha knew that she wouldn't be fast enough to send him away with her teleportation magic. Due to the size, even the last teleportation required a few seconds. Before that time, the golem would have finished this strange magic. Seeing that the octopus and turtle were about to get away, they knew that whatever he was going to do would be too big for them to handle. They started retreating, along with Kai. Even Rain released the octopus and summoned a barrier to protect the soldiers. I have never thought that there would be a time I need to use this. The light glowed brighter. Eterna Grana. Chapter 399. End of War. Eterna Grana. The moment it was activated, spikes after spikes coming out of the ground in all directions. Kai and the others had begun to retreat, so no one was injured, but it kept chasing them. Suddenly, Rain appeared between them and summoned a barrier that was supposed to be stopping it. However, the spikes kept marching forward, not flustered by the barrier. Only some of them hit the spikes and got destroyed. But since it traveled inside the ground, Rain couldn't do anything. This time Tasha and Kai tried to stop it. Kai simply carried Tasha with him, while the latter released a few explosive marbles. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions occurred and destroyed many of the spikes. However, the spikes grew back as if nothing had happened and kept advancing forward. Ayaka followed the suits, but to no avail. This technique never stopped. It's good that the magical beasts are dying, but if we let this continue, our side will suffer a serious loss too, Kai muttered while thinking of a way to escape from this situation. Kai. Tasha called a name after coming up with a plan. Can you listen to what I am saying? Do you have a plan? Yes. I am going to seal that protector's power. Tasha nodded with a serious expression. Can you do it? Yes. Elder Apaka told me the way. Although I couldn't seal someone stronger, the weakened him should be possible. Without any more power, the attack should stop. What do you think? It's better than doing nothing. I will carry you there because there is no telling that the beast has the reserve power to hit you or not. I understand. I will be counting on you. Tasha smiled. Kai nodded and shouted, all of you keep running away. I will try to deal with it. Without waiting for them, Kai already leaped above the spikes using his sound blast. He made sure that he didn't touch a single spike because he didn't know what would happen. Kai's movement was unpredictable, but he managed to get into the beast's range without any injuries. Suddenly, Surta summoned two arms that were trying to grip him. However, Michelle and Rain had acted faster than anyone else here. Michelle threw her dart version to help Alex, while Rain summoned his barrier to stop the incoming two arms. I have never thought that the situation will become like this. Besides, I am afraid that his rise is something inevitable. Rain narrowed his eyes while thinking. He will soon reach this level in the near future. Kai, on the other hand, hadn't put a thought in his next promotion. He simply desired to get stronger as quickly as possible, especially after seeing Tasha's strength. The government would begin paying close attention to her, so he needed to have those 4 stars on his shoulder to protect her. Having this important thought, Kai arrived on top of the beast as he noticed that Surta was still alive. However, his eyes had lost their focus as he kept looking up even with Kai coming to his range of detection. Kai destroyed all the spikes coming out of the ground while asking Tasha, "You should do it because this will be our chance to end this battle." "I know." Tasha nodded as she bent down, staring at Surta's body. She channeled her energy to his body as she overpowered the rampaging energy, as if trying to break free from the control. However, Tasha kept fighting. The pain transmitted to her brain forced a small groan to come out of her mouth. Kai was dealing with all the spikes that came from their surroundings, so he could only ask without turning back, "Are you all right?" "Yes." Tasha smiled and kept sealing more and more energy as she progressed, until one point, Surta gave up. The moment his real skin came back, Kai quickly stabbed it without showing any mercy, as the monster ultimately died. After making sure that the beast died, Kai roared while raising his sword. "Ooh, ooh, ooh." The soldiers followed him, feeling happy that a monster like that died under Kai Carter, the rumored genius from the US base. "We might have killed one of our greatest enemies, but we still need to face more than 3 million monsters. Keep your movement sharp, and we shall claim the victory." Kai let out a battle cry, which was followed by the soldiers. Kai never really showed himself to the public, so no one knew other than those he had met in the spirit world. "All right, let's go. We help our brothers in need," Kai shouted because the giant was covering behind the tree. Kai had no choice other than to leave this guy alone. "Oh!" Kai maintained the army first, as he asked Rain and Brad for another mission. They agreed and began sweeping the enemies with Kai's strategy. It was proven to be effective, so they both had no qualms about the strategy. Besides, without them realizing it, Kai had been maintaining morale this whole time. The soldiers never fell into despair, especially during the war. It took them a whole week just to kill all the monsters, but everything was worth it. They sent a few air troops after the agreement and left everything in Kai's hand. The battle continued. After all, even with the protectors running away, they were required to handle more than 3 million magical beasts. Luckily, Surta killed around 200,000 magical beasts during the last magic that disabled his function to move or talk. This made their mission incredibly easier. Kai and the others chipped their number away little by little, making sure to kill at least a few 100,000 in a year. With the rotation of Kai, Rain, and Brad, the armies could fight even longer. Some even kept smiling despite having gotten an injury. This was how much the satisfaction was from having Kai in the army, because they managed to grab a few good things. He didn't forget about the explosive stuff that Rain brought with him, placing all those people up front, especially the jet. Kai smiled. He couldn't contain his smile and used the air support, decreasing their number even further. Despite being so warm and lucky, the result remained the same. Even though it was anticlimactic, the war had truly ended. Kai quickly ordered all the soldiers to bring all the injured to get themselves healed. Rain came to him, showing his respect in this battle. No matter what, his achievement was the most apparent in this war. He walked to his tent, finding Kai shaking Brad's hand. It seemed Brad was thanking him for his service and apologized for all the harsh attitude this whole time. Kai sent him off with a smile because he understood Brad's personality better during the way. Although he was a tough guy, there seemed to be a history and goodwill behind his action. He felt a bit bad for the former student council president, but Kai believed that a family problem should be resolved by both of them together, not an outsider like him. Kai then turned around and looked at Rain. Brad also saw him and decided to let them talk alone, saying that he would handle the rest. Rain and Kai closed their distance as the former stretched his hand with a smile. Kai nodded and shook his hand. Thank you. I really need to improve even further because my current ability is lacking so much. He smiled. No, you are already strong enough. He shook his head. If I need to fight you or your sister, I feel like I won't have the chance to win. As for Michelle, there is a possibility because my barrier magic has an advantage to it. If it's on equal ground, I don't know if I will defeat her. I really need to improve because the enemies from this point on won't be that easy. Yes, I might not be able to control the entire situation like earlier. That's why we need to get stronger as soon as possible. Kai nodded in agreement. Still, I am honored to have you accompany me in this battle. No, it's me who should feel honored. I have never thought that Ria Ross's student is a monster like herself. I thought I could stand a chance against you. But it seemed everything was just my wishful thinking. You shouldn't, it's fine. Despite saying all this, I wasn't disappointed with the result. Instead, I will be using this motivation to keep increasing my power because I know that someday it is needed. Rain smiled and gently bumped Kai's chest and said, You should keep improving because I might accidentally take your title in the future. Kai smiled and nodded. I will. Are you returning now, Commander? Yes. My only mission is to help you during the war. Now that the war has ended, I need to return as soon as possible. Just make sure to clean all this up, all right? I know. Kai smiled. I hope we can meet again. Rain shook Kai's hand once again. Yes, I believe that it won't take too long for us to meet again. Kai smiled and nodded before saluting. Thank you for your support, sir. Rain saluted before turning around and walking away. I am leaving then. Kai watched how he entered the helicopter. It seemed that he had satisfied his own curiosity regarding Kai's achievement and power. At the very least, he had finished a problem. Kai turned around and saw that the soldiers began cleaning up the beasts scattered all around the battlefield. He shook his head helplessly and walked to the front, planning to help them. This is going to take a long while. Chapter 400, King of the Sea. A few days later, Kai and his family were relaxing on the sofa. Because they had nothing to do, they looked for the news on their TV. It turned out that the news airing right now was related to Kai's achievement in the field. The first one was when they interviewed the student council president, who happened to be helping him during the battle as a commander. She smiled and explained, When I saw him roaming around the battlefield, I would never expect that someone could bring an army of soldiers that had never fought with each other before in perfect harmony. He led the army with the casualty that I would have never thought was possible. Even my grandfather quickly praised him as soon as I returned home. What was the most noticeable impact he brought during the battlefield? In my opinion, it was when he led the soldiers. His power was far above the rest, marching forward while killing the magical beasts without getting slowed down. In fact, most of his soldiers had a hard time keeping up with him despite them being together and following him from behind. That might also be the reason why the soldiers adored him. He fought bravely and tirelessly in the front line, making us not want to lose to him, albeit, in the end, we ended up agreeing that he had beaten us. Not long after, the screen was switched to a reporter asking a student for their experience with a similar question to Laura. Back then, I managed to get chosen as one of the vanguards when our fortress had yet to be completed. He led 15,000 people and stopped hundreds of thousands. Not only that, but he also killed so many beasts by himself and never showed any weakness in front of us. I felt that it wasn't a matter of rivalry anymore. I just didn't want to be a burden to him. That was just how good the commander was. Just thinking about it made me feel goosebumps every now and then. This time, it was a group of soldiers that got interviewed. The first soldier claimed, Commander Brad Matthew was already an offensive-style general, but Kai Carter surpassed him in that regard. He never wavered and got stopped by the magical beasts, no matter the condition. He even perfectly planned everything and had several backup plans when the first plan failed. I wish to fight under him again. The second soldier said, He led us during the first day, but because the center position got ambushed by the enemy, Commander Kai Carter needed to bring reinforcement there. So I couldn't really say what happened during that time. However, I kept listening to my comrade from the center position and never thought that a student was capable of achieving such a thing. Because of the second testament, the reporter now grabbed a soldier from the center position who Brad Matthew led on the first day. On the second day, We got ambushed by 3 intelligence beasts that seemed to be a new type, considering they could use magic like us. The details are still under investigation, so I can't give you any information. As for what happened during that day, the most memorable one was when Commander Kai Carter appeared on the battlefield as the reinforcement. Commander Brad and Dunn had trouble in fighting the 3 new-type beasts, but everything was resolved under a few minutes as soon as he arrived. He was the first to kill the new type, allowing Commander Dunn to protect us. Suddenly, another soldier came and denied his claim. No, if you are talking about the most memorable one, is when 3 mutants came. Commander Rain and the Lion Group took on the 2, while Kai Carter and his sister fought together with the giant. When they were together, they had perfect coordination to the point that the enemy couldn't do anything. In fact, this enemy had a giant body that could kill thousands of people in a few minutes with that giant body. So Commander Kai Carter and his sister were saving us by beating that guy. I would treasure this memory forever. The reporters kept asking many people, but those who were in the house, staring at each other. Tasha grinned and teased him. Commander Kai Carter is the best, eh? Even people only knew me as your sister, not as an S-rank magician. Kai gently scratched his cheek with a weird smile. I only did my best. Haha, should Mom cook something for celebration? She smiled. That's right. We should celebrate this. Tasha nodded in agreement. Let's go shopping, Mum. Sure. She nodded as the 2 quickly left the house with enthusiasm. Unlike the 2, James had a smile on his face, but overall, he was pretty serious when staring at Kai. Kai turned to him with a serious expression, knowing that he wanted to say something. Dad. James let out a long sigh, leaned on the sofa, and stared at the ceiling. Thank you, Kai. What do you mean, Dad? Kai tilted his head in confusion. I only did my best as a son, nothing else. Why, thank you. Look at your mom's smile. The reason she can smile is not that your achievement is amazing, but because we can gather here again despite achieving so many things. I will be lying if we say we are not proud of you. But, above all, we just want the family to be together. Many people work hard for money, but they end up sacrificing their family and not having time to spend with their family, whether they are their children or parents. That's why your mom can smile today. Dad. Kai opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but then he realized he couldn't come up with a sentence. He felt that his brain worked perfectly during the battlefield, but when it came to family, he was completely clueless. His father's lesson was so important to him because he understood what family meant. Kai couldn't contain his smile. Thank you, Dad. No matter what, I will have time for family. James nodded with a smile. That's good. Besides, you have achieved one of your dreams, right? Dream, yes. It's about Tasha. You have become someone big enough to protect her. Ah. Kai remembered how Tasha teased him by making others look at him more than anyone else was also another type of protection for Tasha. Combined with his current rank in the military, not many would try to do anything funny to his sister. Kai genuinely felt relieved for the first time as he leaned back, following what his father did. Everything felt lifted up from his shoulders as he couldn't help but say, ah, this is bliss. To think that relaxing is this enjoyable, haha, rest well. No matter what you do, Mom and Dad will be here waiting for you to come home. James was happy with how Kai developed to this day. You and Tasha will always be our pride. Thanks. Contrary to this relaxed atmosphere, under the sea, the situation was intense, as if someone choked your neck. The turtle and the octopus were kneeling in front of the mermaid princess. Many other protectors were watching this scene, because they never expected that the turtle would come back in this state. Can you tell me what happened? The princess asked. They were on a small square stone platform. On the 3 sides were seats sat by the other protectors. As expected, a few were missing due to Kai killing them. Kai Carter is stronger than ever. I believe that his power will soon catch up to us. His group has so much progress too, allowing them to stop me. And if we add the fact that they keep helping each other, it means that they will soon reach our level as well, though it won't be as fast as Kai Carter. After telling the conclusion, he began telling the whole story from the beginning, especially how Kai Carter and Tasha Carter killed Surta. The protectors were in an uproar as they never expected Kai to be this strong. However, the mermaid princess had another point of view. She focused on Tasha instead of Kai. That's space magic. I don't think she is a space magician. Her power is closer to that human in the West. If I am not wrong, his name is. Before she finished, a middle-aged man's voice resounded in everyone's ears. Rapaka Barabas. The princess's body shook, and the other protectors turned silent. They stared at the far side of the platform, which only had one grand seat. The one who sat on that empty seat had a tail like that of a snake, but his upper half was a fish. The upper half had so many spikes all over its back. Your Majesty, the princess bowed politely. To think that man is moving despite getting watched by that old hag. It means that they have met him, which probably they came to Easter Island, not the other way around. The king, aka the real protector, closed his eyes. That man's sealing magic is extraordinary, because it can even seal our power. Do you have a suggestion to us, Your Majesty? My power has yet to be completed. I need another 1 or 2 years. For now, you should harass them from time to time to halt Kai Carter's progress. I don't know his situation, but as expected of the human race's protector, he is dangerous. I understand. I shall be the one leading the army next time. Good. Don't make it too often because that old hag might find out about this. If that happens, all of our efforts will go in vain. I shall plan everything for you, Your Majesty. She nodded with a serious expression. The king nodded with a grim expression, as if he was thinking something.